Welcome into the Steelers Talk live show presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and of course, we are continuing to wait on Steelers training camp here in the middle of the summer. That doesn't mean there's still not a lot of juicy things to talk about in Steelers Nation. First up on today's show, we got a lot to talk about today here, folks. On our first segment, we're going to be breaking down Todd McShay, who has linked Brendan Sorsby to the Pittsburgh Steelers and even thinks the Steelers could spend up to a first-round pick on him in the supplemental draft. I'm going to be reacting to that at the top of the show in our first segment today. Then Bleacher Report came out with a list of 3 pre-camp checklist items for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll let you guys know my thoughts on those 3 things that they say the Steelers should do before Latrobe. Then ESPN reveals the big surprise that happened at Steelers OTAs this year. Then we'll get into our player profile of today's live show, which is going to be on free agency edition at the cornerback position, Jamel Dean. And then, of course, our Madden simulated season continues today with a visit to Philadelphia, where we take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Steelers are 7-2 in our Madden simulated season. Hopefully they can keep that good mojo going. So make sure you guys stick around for that Madden simulation. But I want to see who the real ones are. Down there in the comment section here on a Monday live show. Spam those me's down there in the comment section. If you've liked the stream, we got over 100 people watching live right now. I'd love to get to at least 30 likes before we get into our first segment today. We've got Damian Roy in the chat. We've got D. Schlantz. We've got Zark Craig, as always, my lovely wife. Cassie Sperry's in the chat. Everyone say hi to Cassie. We got John. We got Ladome, Mr. Deadhead. We've got Donna Elliott in the chat. We've got Steelers Dad in the chat. What's up, Steelers Dad? Got Robert Kirkpatrick. Got Andrew, Wilson, Michael, Jason, Eric, DK Edits. Got Garrett, Chrissy, Robert, Chris, Andrew, Ryan, Damian Roy's in the chat. What's up, my man? We got Ali the Reaper in here. We got a lot of familiar faces in the chat today. Let's go, man. We got JD, Joe Brown, Andrew Arnold, James Murray, Levi Sweeney. Got Mickelson. We got a bunch of great Steelers fans ready to talk some ball today, guys. And if you want to get your question on the show today, you guys can feel free to Super Chat or Venmo or PayPal to get your question on the show on screen next to me here and next to Ponzi. If you got any questions about Brendan Sorsby, if you got any questions about the quarterback situation here in Pittsburgh, not only now but in the future, if you got a question about the new schemes that are being implemented here in Pittsburgh, if you got any questions about potential trades or free agency additions or maybe some subtractions in the coming weeks, I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you guys have on the black and gold. If you don't know how to super chat, you guys can click that symbol down there in the live chat room that looks like a dollar bill and then put in any dollar amount you want. Even if it's just a $1 or $2 super chat, we'll be happy to answer any and all questions. But if you guys want to send in your donations dollars to Venmo or PayPal, we actually get to keep more of the proceeds when you do that. YouTube takes a 30% cut and Apple takes another 10% cut of every single super chat that you guys send in. So if you guys want us to keep more of your donation dollars and you want your question to skip the line, you guys actually get your question answered first. If you Venmo or PayPal, you can find me at Jack-Berry on Venmo or at Captain Jackrabbit to get your questions on the show. Now, before we get into the segments today, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor here on Steelers Talk Live, which, as always, is PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. The World Cup is finally here, so you can get your soccer lineups in over the next several weeks, or if that's not really your thing, PrizePicks has a number of other sports to choose from, like baseball and more, to enhance your sports viewing experience this summer. You guys can even look ahead to next year's football season here, like with this PrizePicks projection, where you got a bunch of different things looking ahead to next year's football season, like passing yards, receiving touchdowns, interceptions, and more. With this particular projection, you guys could come away with $105 on a $20 entry fee from our friends on PrizePicks if you get all 3 correct in what PrizePicks calls a power play. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with our friends at PrizePicks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring Steelers Talk Live. And with that, we'll bring in our producer, Mr. Ponzi, is with us here today. Bernard Nixon with a $5 super chat to get us going. As always, he says, Skip Bayless said the Steelers will be 4th in the AFC North. Ponzi, we hear this every single year. This is going to be the first losing season in 2 decades. They're going to be last place. The Browns are going to be better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they're never right? They are never, ever right. And there's going to have to be a lot, Ponzi, that goes wrong with this season for this team to finish 4th in the AFC North. Like Aaron Rodgers is probably going to have to get injured very early on. The backup quarterbacks are going to have to be absolutely terrible. You're going to have injuries all over the defense. Like, say what you will about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're not a bad football team, all right? Like, they have a very solid roster. They won 10 games last year. At the very least, if they stay relatively healthy, they'll be, like, bare minimum an 8-win team. Like, let's get out of here with the last place in the AFC North conversation, especially after the Browns just traded the best player in football.
And one of those things, too, Sperry, is, like, this team stayed afloat with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and Mitchell Trubisky trio of quarterbacks. Like, if there's anything to testament, at least, Mike McCarthy's coming in. Maybe that was the Mike Tomlin effect. But unless Mike McCarthy is a complete idiot at football, they should be able to win at least 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, that Cleveland team, it's going to be rough. They don't have I don't think any starting caliber quarterbacks on their team. Deshaun Watson is no longer a starter, in my opinion. Shedeur Sanders is not a starting caliber quarterback, in my opinion. They got issues all over that roster, and I think that they're still at least a year away from really making a push for the playoffs of any kind. They just lost the best player maybe in their franchise's history in Myles Garrett. And even though Jared Verse is a very good player, it's not Myles Garrett, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be so that defense is going to take a step back compared to what it was over the last several years. And it's not like they were a playoff team with the defenses they've had the last 2 years. They've wasted those defenses. Now that defense is going to take a step back. It's a brand new coaching staff. They don't have the quarterback talent, in my opinion, to really have a high ceiling there. So when people say the Steelers are going to be 4th in the AFC North, I think they're just talking completely out of their ass. I think the only way that happens is if major injuries happen and they're season longers and they're early on in the season, which is very, very unlikely. Another $5 here from Bernard Nixon says, I'm very happy A-Rod is here. He's being the leader to those young guys. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's one of the good things about having Aaron Rodgers on your team is that, yes, he hates the media, all right? And, he's going to do things his own way, which is going to, frustrate fans and the media. But he is a great teammate. There is a reason why every single player, according to all of the reports from Brooke Pryor, Adam Schefter, and others, say that every single Steelers player wanted Aaron Rodgers back this year, all right? And you don't do that, A, if he's a bad teammate, or B, if he sucks at football, right? So they clearly disagree with the idea that, Aaron Rodgers has completely lost the plot. He's no longer a good quarterback, can't lead this team to playoff wins, all those different things. And hopefully Rodgers is able to prove this locker room right this year, and we'll see what he's able to do. I'm certainly excited to see what the injection of Mike McCarthy as the offensive play caller is going to do, what getting rid of Jonnu Smith's going to do, the implementation of new receiving weapons like Michael Pittman Jr., Jeremy Bernard, and then, of course, the defense, I think, is going to be really, really fun this year. Now, Ponzi, we do have a live poll in the live chat room right now. Who is the best NFL QB prospect? Will Howard, Drew Aller, or Brendan Sorsby? About half of you guys think Will Howard, the 6th-round pick, is better than Drew Aller, who was taken 3 rounds ahead of Howard, and Brendan Sorsby, who was a potential projected 1st-round pick in next year's NFL draft. I have to disagree with this. I understand why people like Howard and, want to believe in him. He's a great kid and all this different stuff. But, like, just in terms of upside, arm talent, all these different things, man, I think that Drew Aller and Sorsby certainly, usurp Will Howard in that way. And, I think if I had to pick one of these 3 guys, on paper, in a vacuum here, Ponzi, I'm picking Sorsby because he's a tank at 235 pounds, awesome arm talent, really natural playmaker out of structure, and he can run with the football at that size. He's a tank, man. He's got super high upside, and if he comes to Pittsburgh, kind of like with the Drew Aller situation right now, he'd have a perfect, kind of situation to just sit, learn, develop for a year, and then hopefully, if you end up getting Sorsby, he ends up being that franchise quarterback option. But like Drew Aller can also fit in that category as well. Awesome arm talent. You're hoping that once he fixes his footwork, once, he can learn how to mentally process a defense, he can utilize and kind of weaponize that arm talent that he has and become the next franchise quarterback. Here in Pittsburgh, it's also possible you go out and get a rookie next year in the first round. Like, there's still a lot of things that can happen there, but I think there's a reason why Will Howard went in the 6th round, guys. So if you're just talking about quarterback prospects, I think you probably got to look at Aller or Sorsby there. But hey, apparently half of Steelers Nation disagrees with me here, Ponzi. What do you think?
And not to put anyone on blast, not to criticize Will Howard and like say that he's a bum and he's never played. The problem is, guys, like, we have not seen Will Howard. We have not seen him in an NFL game.
I mean, we haven't seen the other two either.
Exactly. We haven't seen any of these guys. And, purely off of college film, off of, intangibles in that regard, Sorsby and Aller are way better, and it's not even a question. I think Howard, obviously he's got a good mindset. He's been, praised in Steelers camp. He's been apparently taken to the system really well. But the problem with this, guys, is that we have not seen him play. We haven't even seen him play a preseason snap. And we're over here saying, get rid of Aller, don't draft Sorsby. We got our guy in Will Howard. You got to understand where you're coming from with this. Of the Steelers need to be taking these dart throws because we don't have our franchise guy. We don't have the guy right now that we know could be the next Ben Roethlisberger, the next Terry Bradshaw, the next great Steelers quarterback, because we don't know. We don't have it. And I understand Will Howard's a fan favorite. But the problem is, whenever you get into these conversations, you cannot be saying, we're going to take Will Howard over all of these guys and not even give them a shot.
Yeah, I think, I want to give Will a quote-unquote chance, and I think the Steelers will do that with, training camp this year. If he's up to snuff and they feel like he's a legitimate QB2, I think they'll keep him. And I think that, he might even play this year if Rodgers goes down with some sort of injury this year and you have to have your backup quarterback come in. And if Will gets his chance this year, I hope he plays well. You know, I really do hope, that he does play well. And he's got starter tools. We've talked about it here on the channel. He's got, I think, a good enough arm to play in the NFL. I think that, he's got some plus athleticism to him, obviously he played his best football in the clutch in the college football playoff a couple years ago and ended up leading his team to a national championship. But I feel like the stock answer as to why the Steelers need to go with Will Howard is he won a national championship in college. Like, that matters. Here's the thing, man. When you are playing on an absolutely stacked roster, the way that Ohio State Buckeyes team was, how many first-round picks did they have on that roster that year, offense and defense?
And, they even had a good
it's more
second
than 10.
and third.
It's more than 10. You got what? Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, one of the best wide receiver trios in the history of football. You got some good tight ends, some first-round picks on the offensive line as well. Then you've got two high-end running back prospects in Judkins and Henderson.
To Howard's credit, he didn't have Marvin Harrison, but he did have Jeremiah Smith, which is the same.
Oh, yeah, not Marv. I meant Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah's going to go round one.
Exactly.
Right? He's better than Marv was. And
exactly.
Marv was an awesome prospect, right? Then on defense, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, the nose tackle this year, McDonald ended up going in the first round this year. There's just Sawyer was on that team. That group was so special. And the thing about college football, guys, is that the best roster usually wins the national championship, not necessarily the team with the best quarterback. You know what I'm saying? JJ McCarthy won a Super Bowl or won a national championship at Michigan. Guess what? Because he had a stacked roster around him, right? Was JJ McCarthy going to be an amazing quarterback in the league? At least to this point, that hasn't been the case. Right? Then Tim Tebow was awesome in college. Probably the greatest college quarterback of all time. And won 2 national championships. Terrible in the National Football League, right? Sure, he beat our Steelers in the playoffs somehow in some way. But, he was a bad NFL quarterback, man. So, success in college and specifically team success in college definitely does not necessarily translate to success in the National Football League. And listen, man, that doesn't mean that Howard has zero chance if he gets his opportunity to play in the National Football League. It doesn't mean that the Steelers should cut him today. It doesn't mean any of those things. But, when people say Will Howard is a better quarterback prospect than guys like Drew Aller and Brendan Sorsby, guys with just more tangible tools than he has, let's just be honest about that. I don't think that is a legitimate argument to be made in the favor of Will Howard. I think if you want to make an argument for Will Howard, the argument is he's had a year to learn under Aaron Rodgers. His accuracy is better than those two other guys. And he's going to be more of more of a tactician, more of a surgeon than those guys. And those guys, physically talented, but they're not going to be able to play in the NFL game. I think that's the argument for Will Howard over those two guys. Not he won a national championship on a stacked college team, therefore he's a great quarterback. That's just not the argument I think that should be made.
And the best case for Will Howard for this season is that if he comes in and has a Cooper Rush 2023 type success, where he goes in, he keeps the boat alive, he keeps the boat steady, and he plays well in those. Cooper Rush, a lot of people, when Dak got injured, were like, Cooper Rush.
Stick with Cooper Rush.
Exactly, stick with Cooper Rush. Yep. And a lot of people said that because the fact is, though, that Cooper Rush was a lot older back then than Will Howard is right now. You could say, when Rodgers goes down, Will Howard, keeps the boat around, maybe he's our guy. We've seen him in NFL games. We haven't seen Drew Aller in NFL games. And that's the argument you want to make. But the problem is you just don't hand the keys right off to Will Howard if he hasn't earned it, just because he won a natty.
Yeah, I don't think you spend a third-round pick on a quarterback if you are that sure of Will Howard. Exactly. That doesn't mean that Will Howard has no chance to win this quote-unquote quarterback competition.
No.
But, and I think he will be higher than Aller on the depth chart this year because he's had that year under Rodgers to learn for a year. And, he's probably more ready to be a QB2 in the National Football League right now than Aller is. But, give us a year's time here and give Aller a year that same year to develop under Rodgers. And it's very possible that with his greater arm talent, that by this time next year, he's more ready to be a QB1 in this league than Will Howard is at that point. I guess we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But yeah, man, I think it's a very interesting situation. We'll see how it plays out over the course of the year. Bernard with another 5 says, I watch every game last year with A-Rod that he was good with what he has to work with. I think that he was good given what he had to work with last year. And I think last year, what Rodgers kind of figured out was this roster is not built to throw the ball down the field. It just wasn't. All you had was DK Metcalf, and that was pretty much it in terms of downfield weapons. So he's like, instead of holding the ball, taking more sacks, all these different things, these negative plays, and forcing the ball into too tight of windows, I'm going to get the ball out quickly. I'm going to try and play methodically, and I'm going to play to the strength of the passing offense, which last year was the yak threats, right? DK Metcalf is a very underrated yak threat. Then you had Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell, the backs. Those guys were huge last year. Darnell Washington was a big part of the yak game, and he really leaned into that aspect of the offense. But the big question, Bernard, is will he adjust his play style now that we have the legitimate downfield weapons, right? It's kind of the chicken or the egg question. Does Rodgers not throw the ball downfield because he doesn't want to hold the ball and he doesn't want to get hit and all this different stuff, and it's going to be the same old Rodgers this year? Or is it going to be, okay, now I have the weapons to throw downfield, so I'm going to throw the ball downfield more often this year? And I think there's a decent argument to be made that it's going to be the latter, but you do have to realize that there is a possibility where this is just the way Aaron Rodgers plays at this point, and it's going to limit the Steelers' offense. It's just going to be interesting to see which version of Rodgers we do get this year. $2 from Bernard again says, I think A-Rod is going to cook this year. I hope you're right, my friend. I think that he's got the adequate weapons. I think the excuses have run out for Aaron Rodgers. If he cannot put up pretty decent production with this offense, an offense that he feels very comfortable in, that he grew up in, this is his offense, man. If he can't produce in this offense with these players, I think it's officially over for Aaron Rodgers in the National Football League. And I think either way, whether he plays well or whether he doesn't, Rodgers has already said this is going to be it for him in the NFL. $5 from Bernard says, I never heard any teammate say A-Rod was an asshole. Greg Jennings, has said some stuff in the media about, Rodgers that are negative, and Garrett Wilson, there were some reports that he would demand a trade out of New York if the Jets brought him back last year. There's been certain teammates from time to time that have spoken out against Rodgers, Bernard, but they're very few and far between, and there's way more people that love Rodgers that played with him than the opposite. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Now, before we get into our first segment today, guys, if you want to help support the show, you guys can check out our merch collection on our website, chatsports.com/ ST merch. We got a bunch of t-shirts on there. Our Michael Pittman Jr. t-shirts on there. Married into this gear is up there. F the Ravens t-shirts. We got our Steelers Talk logo t-shirt as well. So if you guys want to pick yours up today, help support the channel. I think our stuff is pretty reasonably priced. So if you guys want to go there and get some Steelers Talk merch, help out the channel. It's chatsports.com/ST merch if you want to get that going. But we're going to get into our first segment of the day here, guys, which is going to be Brendan Sorsby related. We're also going to talk a little bit about Alex Highsmith here towards the end of that show, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But then in our second cut, Bleacher Report came out with a list of 3 pre-camp checklist items that the Steelers need to do before they get to Latrobe. And then ESPN revealed a big surprise at Steelers OTAs this year. And then we'll get into Jamel Dean's player profile, introducing you to his play style, what he's going to provide to the Steelers defense this year. And then, as always, we got a Madden sim towards the end of the show here. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment on today's live show, which is very Todd McShay and Brendan Sorsby heavy. So let's get right into it. You are watching Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get $50 instantly in additional lineups from our friends at Prize Picks. And on today's edition of Steelers Talk, we're going to be breaking down Todd McShay, NFL draft analyst for The Ringer, who recently linked quarterback Brendan Sorsby to the Pittsburgh Steelers and says the Steelers could use up to a first-round pick on him in the supplemental draft coming up here in just a few weeks. And then Bleacher Report put out an article revealing 2 potential Alex Highsmith trade destinations. Going to be reacting to that later on in the show, so make sure you guys stick around. But let's get right into the Brendan Sorsby discussion here, guys, where NFL draft analyst Todd McShay from The Ringer says that he'd potentially spend a first-round pick on Brendan Sorsby if he were an NFL GM. This is what McShay had to say on his podcast recently. You can't coach what Brendan Sorsby has. You can coach up what he has. The league has coached up Josh Allen. The league has coached up Jalen Hurts. The league has coached up Lamar Jackson. So here's where I am. He's more physically gifted than Arch Manning. I trust Arch more. Sorsby is more gifted. If we have the quarterback coach and we have the contact and we have the contract the right way, the psychologist putting a stamp on it, if we can get aligned, I think this guy's worth it. And if that's the case, I get to draft him, and I'm doing it with a first-round pick. And I'm doing that because I think he has a chance to be special. So that's definitely a ringing endorsement there from McShay, no pun intended there. But I agree with McShay in terms of Sorsby's upside, and that this guy has things that you simply cannot teach from the tangible gifts perspective. He is really big at 6'3", 235 pounds. For reference, that's over 10 pounds heavier than Drew Aller, who stands at 6'5". So he is definitely a big guy, but he pairs that with some really great athleticism and some acceleration. He's a really good runner of the football. Maybe not Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen level good, but he is definitely one of the better rushing quarterbacks that were in college football here over the last several years. He's got awesome arm talent. Not only is it a strong arm that can hit all 3 levels of the field, but he can drop that arm angle. He can throw from different platforms. He's RPO efficient. They ran a lot of RPOs at Cincinnati, so he'd be able to operate that aspect of Mike McCarthy's offense if you bring him in here. He's a natural playmaker, and he's got awesome pocket presence, which I think gives him a higher ceiling than Drew Aller. Aller's pocket presence and playmaking ability out of structure is a little questionable at times. Sorsby is a very natural playmaker out of structure. When you combine all of that with the size and the arm and everything he brings to the table from a physical standpoint, this guy's got the upside to be a really, really good NFL quarterback. My pro comp for Sorsby is that he's a bigger, stronger version of Jackson Dart. And if you ask any Giants fan, they are very excited about Jackson Dart and what he showed in his rookie season there in New York. I think, Sorsby's like 10 pounds heavier than Dart is. I think he has a stronger arm than him, but I think their play styles are very similar. And I think that's the caliber of quarterback that you're bringing in if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers or any NFL team looking to bring in a prospective future starting quarterback for their given franchise. And McShay says that his sources are telling him he's going to go in round 2. McShay has said that he would consider spending a first-round pick in the supplemental draft form, but he says that his sources inside the NFL are telling him that he's going to go in round 2. But there are some conflicting reports out there. The Athletics NFL draft analyst Dane Brugler says that his sources are saying that Sorsby won't even even go until day 3. And according to Dane Brugler, Sorsby actually sought out the opinions of a number of NFL teams this year because he wanted to come out in the NFL draft. And if he was a projected first-round pick, he likely would have came out. But he got mostly round 3 feedback from NFL teams. And then you add on the gambling stuff with Brendan Sorsby, and it's going to even drive down his value even more. So I do think Sorsby is a risky prospect. We talked about some of the pros with Sorsby, but, he's not ready to play in the NFL, all right? The mental processing isn't where it needs to be. He does have those off-field concerns, obviously, with the gambling stuff. You have to really check out this guy from a psychological standpoint. You have to, have your team psychologists and all that different stuff really give their stamp of approval here. He doesn't really throw with a lot of anticipation, and the pocket footwork, kind of like Drew Aller, was a bit of a mess in college. Now, keep in mind that most of the reporting does align with McShay here. You talked about Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport and all the big names. They're all saying Sorsby is expected to go in round 2 or around that range. But with that said, if the NFL really saw Sorsby as like a round 1 or round 2 caliber talent, and Sorsby reportedly wanted to come out, why did he then decide to take the $5 million offer from Texas Tech, right? You have to kind of think through that, and maybe he isn't viewed as like a top-end draft pick kind of guy by NFL teams out there, especially now with this gambling stuff coming out about him, which ended up, ruining his tenure with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. But coming up here, going to be breaking down what Todd McShay had to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers and why he thinks the Steelers could be the team to make a play for Brendan Sorsby. But predict it for me down there in the comment section. How high of a pick will Sorsby end up going for? Give me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or none down there in the comment section. Now, before we get into the rest of today's show, I want to tell you about a Prize Picks projection for the Steelers Week 1 matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons that I absolutely love, and I want to share with you guys on today's show. I'm actually going to be taking the more on receiving yards for DK Metcalf in that Week 1 matchup versus the Falcons, where even though he has to go up against the likes of A.J. Terrell on the other side there, I think he's definitely going to get the more there on the 49.5 receiving yards because, I think that he's going to just get the football more this season. I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to make it a point to get his number 1 receiver involved early on in the season, and I think that he's going to have a pretty nice season debut versus the Dirty Birds. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. You guys can actually see my Week 1 lineup right here where I'm taking the more on receiving yards for DK Metcalf like we just talked about, but also the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers and the less on receiving yards for Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts. So again, guys, download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. Again, guys, as always, please play responsibly and click the link in the comments and description to download the app. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring Steelers Talk. So now talking about Todd McShay on Sorsby potentially going to the Steelers, this is what he had to say. The Steelers have been mired in this. We're good enough every year. We're right on the fringe. We're either in the playoffs getting knocked out or early, or we just miss the playoffs. So we're always picking around 21 or 23 or 25, so we can't get that guy at the quarterback position. Pittsburgh, that's the one for Sorsby. Pittsburgh has tried so long to find their guy at quarterback. You can't wait until the second round because you got the Jets, you got the Cardinals, you got the Browns. They're all picking ahead of you. I can't rule out Pittsburgh. And then Andrew Filipponi tweeted this out here. They had Steve Palazzolo from the 33rd team on their show last week, and he doesn't think it's crazy that the Steelers end up drafting Brendan Sorsby, and then they end up trading Drew Aller as a result of that and essentially just punting on Drew Aller. Now, listen, man, I think it's possible that Pittsburgh could make a play for Sorsby. Maybe a second-round selection is probably the highest I think they'd be willing to go. But listen, man, Pittsburgh is kind of the perfect situation for Sorsby, and if I'm him and his representation, I'm hoping that I land with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we've kind of talked about it with Drew Aller, and after drafting him, that the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of have like the ideal setup for a developmental quarterback like Aller and like Sorsby to take a year and kind of develop behind the scenes and then take over with a playoff caliber roster the following year. You get Aaron Rodgers, an all-time great quarterback, to teach you how to mentally process an NFL defense. You get Mike McCarthy, who's known for developing quarterback footwork and fundamentals fundamentals, all that different stuff. I just think it's the perfect situation for a young quarterback like this to be placed into. And frankly, guys, if Sorsby would have came out this year, I would have had a higher grade on him than I had on Drew Aller. I think that with Sorsby's better pocket presence and playmaking instincts, I think, and not to mention his rushing ability, I think his upside is actually higher than Drew Aller's. I think Aller has a pretty decent amount of upside, starter level upside with his level of arm talent, but I think Sorsby, as McShay put it, does have a chance to be special if he develops. I think in a place here like Pittsburgh, he would have a chance to be something pretty darn nice for this franchise if he can behave himself and, he can stay healthy and take that proper steps in development under head coach Mike McCarthy. However, I don't think it's as simple as Brendan Sorsby is better than Drew Aller, so let's just throw a first or second round pick on Brendan Sorsby. I think it's way more complicated than that, and I think those complications are probably going to end up preventing the Steelers from getting Brendan Sorsby in the supplemental draft this year. I don't think Pittsburgh will give up their first round pick this year. I just think that the Steelers really cherish those first round selections, and for especially somebody like Sorsby, who does come with his fair share of risks, to say the least, I don't think they want to take that kind of risk on a player like this. But I also think Pittsburgh's going to have like a round one caliber grade on him to be willing to give up like a second or third round pick in a supplemental draft for him. Like they're going to have to view him as somebody where if he would have came out in the regular NFL draft this year, we would have like spent the 21st overall pick on this guy. They have to feel like this is their dude of the future. And they have to feel like he gives, the Steelers a much better chance than Drew Aller of finding their franchise quarterback of the future. And really the reason why the Steelers need to have a monster grade on Brendan Sorsby is Drew Aller, in my opinion, because you'd essentially be giving up on him and you'd be essentially throwing that draft pick that you spent on Aller, that third round draft selection at number 76, in the trash if you do this. So not only does Pittsburgh need to feel that Sorsby is worth the pick that they end up using on him, so whether that's a first, second, third round pick, whatever pick they end up using on him in the supplemental draft, he also needs to be worth the pick that they used on Aller as well. So you almost have to view this almost like a trade. Like, let's just say Sorsby came into the NFL draft this year and the Steelers ended up giving up pick number 76 this year and then like their second round pick in 27 to trade up for Brendan Sorsby in the second round this year. Well, maybe that's a trade that would have been acceptable for Steelers fans, right? Because that's essentially what you're doing here. You're trading pick number 76 and the pick you're using on him in the supplemental draft to take Sorsby. So personally, I don't think Pittsburgh will like Sorsby that much, especially with the gambling stuff that has come out over this offseason, because he's not a sure thing on the field either. He is very much a developmental prospect, just like Aller is, and you've already had a little bit of time to work with Aller and all these different things. So I just don't think the Steelers are going to be that into Brendan Sorsby, and I think they'll probably let somebody else take him in the supplemental draft this year. But coming up next here on Steelers Talk, going to be breaking down Bleacher Report's list of 2 potential Alex Highsmith trade destinations for this offseason. But before we get into the Alex Highsmith talk here, let's have a word from our other sponsor here on Steelers Talk, which is SeatGeek. The Steelers 2026 schedule is now set, and tickets for every single Steelers game, home, away, and international, is now available for purchase on the SeatGeek app. Use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets. The SeatGeek app and website are super easy to use, guys. You get views from your seat before you purchase, all that great stuff. And if you guys want to take a look at the Acrisure Stadium kind of plot here, where they've got a lot of green on that screen right there for the season opener versus the Atlanta Falcons. If you guys want to go see your Pittsburgh Steelers open up their season next year, there's a lot of great tickets available on their website right now. And whether you go to a baseball game with the kids this summer at beautiful PNC Park or an Ed Sheeran concert with the wife, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a value scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots when using their app, guys. That means good value. Obviously, the red dots mean bad value. And of course, I have a code for you guys to get an even better deal. Use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets with our friends at SeatGeek. One more time, that's 10% off any tickets with promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later on. And a big thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So now the two teams that Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox identifies as Alex Highsmith trade destinations this year are the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers. And according to Knox, Alex Highsmith's trade value on the open market right now is a third-round pick plus a veteran player that could help the Steelers win football games this year. This is what Knox had to write down in his most recent article, where he listed Highsmith as one of the top 10 trade candidates in the National Football League right now. He says, to be clear, there hasn't been any real trade buzz involving Pittsburgh Steelers edge defender Alex Highsmith. The Steelers won't have any interest in moving the 28-year-old at a bargain price, not as long as they believe they can contend with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback anyway. However, a strong offer should at least generate some interest in Pittsburgh. Highsmith is signed for 2 more years, and he's about to be on the pricier side for Pittsburgh with cap hits above $20 million for 2026 and 2027. Now that June 1st has passed, the Steelers could save $14.5 million in 2026 cap space by trading him. The Steelers could also be willing to part with Highsmith after locking up fellow edge rusher Nick Herbig with a 4-year, $100 million extension. For Pittsburgh, Highsmith is the most sensible trade candidate of the three. Talking about him, Watt, or Herbig, though it would probably take a day 2 pick and more, possibly another receiver to help Rodgers, to land him. Now, I think the only way you really consider even trading Alex Highsmith this year is if you get a player and a good player in exchange for him, like maybe like a Chris Lindstrom, like an all-pro caliber right guard or something like that in exchange for Highsmith, but you just drafted Jennings Dunker, who you believe in as the future of that right guard position. There's honestly a pretty darn short list of players that could realistically be traded to the Steelers in exchange for Highsmith that I think I'd be willing to come to the table for, and I don't think any of those players exist on the San Francisco 49er or the Detroit Lion rosters right now, so I don't really know why Christopher Knox lists these two teams as potential destinations. I'm sure the Lions and the 49ers would have some interest in Highsmith. I just don't know if there's any trade package they could really conjure up here outside of something completely ridiculous that the Steelers would actually be willing to trade Alex Highsmith for. I just think that they're not going to have any interest in trading Highsmith this offseason. I think that they really like him. I think that they love his versatility. He's a great run defender, pass rusher. He was their most efficient pass rusher just last year. And then also, he's a pretty good zone dropper, too, from that outside linebacker position, which is a skill set that I think it's so underrated, even by Steelers fans, especially in a defense here with Patrick Graham, that I think is going to use a lot of creative blitzes. And they're going to drop not only Alex Highsmith, but TJ Watt a little bit in coverage to kind of confuse these quarterbacks and try to bait them into these kind of poor decisions with the football. So I think Highsmith is a great fit. The Steelers are definitely in a win-now situation right now. Don't see them trading him. But my prediction is that Highsmith will eventually get traded, but it won't be until next year. And I do think he will get traded for a day 2 pick in next year's NFL draft. But the reason why you wait until next year instead of this year, number one, it's a win-now season. Number two, Highsmith can help you win this year alongside Watt and Herbig. Number three, you can afford it. Herbig, his cap hit is very low, all right? His big cap hits with his extension don't kind of start until next year. So you can afford to keep these three guys, that three-headed monster, together for one more season in a win-now year with one more year of Aaron Rodgers, right? You might as well keep the band together for one more season. And then when Highsmith is on the final year of his deal next year, when he's about to enter his age 30 season, it's the perfect time to unload him for a day 2 pick. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comments section. Alex Highsmith will eventually go for at least a second-round pick in the NFL draft when eventually he gets traded. Whether that's this year, next year, he'll eventually go for a second-round pick or more. Type T if you think that statement is true. Type F if you think that statement is false. And Highsmith will eventually go for less than a second-round value. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers News and Rumors. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. We're going to continue to get you guys in-depth premium Steelers content on this channel every single day. Whenever there's big news stories, whenever there's big rumors that are floating out there, we're going to keep you guys updated all throughout the offseason leading up to the start of the 2026 NFL season. So if you don't want to miss any of our free Steelers coverage, make sure you guys click that subscribe button and join our family today. First segment in the books here, Mr. Ponzi. Coming up next, Bleacher Report's pre-camp checklist. 3 things that Bleacher Report says the Steelers need to do before the start of training camp to finish out their offseason. But we did get 2 super chats here. So we got one from John G. That's Jon for the John. John G. with a 3 says, I usually watch the podcast, but had to jump in live. Completely disagree that the Steelers told JPJ, we have depth at corner, and wait for you. He'll be a top 5 CB this year. They are going to pay him, and they're discussing guaranteed money. Listen, John, I'm not necessarily saying that the Steelers like straight up told JPJ, oh, we don't need you. I don't think that's what they said at all. I think that, I was just explaining the Steelers' position of why they might not budge off their number, because the Steelers probably feel good with their depth at corner right now, because you got a lot of people with starting experience on this group, but obviously they want Joey Porter Jr. on their team this year, and he will be on the team this year. Like I said in that video that you're referencing there, John, I think worst comes to worst, a deal doesn't get done, and JPJ just plays out the final year of his rookie contract. Like, I just don't see any scenario where the Steelers trade Joey Porter Jr. I don't see any scenario in which Joey Porter Jr. sits out games. I just don't see that playing itself out that way. I think either the extension gets done or JPJ plays out the final year of his deal, and I think that the extension is probably going to get done. The Steelers are prioritizing this. I think that JPJ is a big part of their defensive vision for the future, and I think a deal will get done. I think that he probably will get north of $25 million a season, and like you said there, you think Joey Porter Jr. is going to be a top 5 corner this year. That's in the cards. I think Joey Porter Jr. is an awesome player, so we're absolutely in agreement on that. If I said that I think the Steelers straight up told Joey Porter Jr., oh, we don't need you, we have the depth, and that's a miswording on my part. The only reason why I mentioned that is because I don't think the Steelers are going to panic and pay him $30 million a season just to get an extension done, right? I think they're going to have their number that they feel he's worth, and because of the depth that they have, I think they feel comfortable sticking at that number instead of feeling like they're forced to overpay for a player that they don't think is worth that caliber of money, right? If they don't think that he's Derek Stingley Jr., if they don't think he's Sauce Gardner, if they don't think he's Trent McDuffie, then I don't think the Steelers are in a position to feel desperate to have to pay him $30+ million a season, right? So that's the only reason why I mentioned that, John. But I completely agree with you that I think Joey Porter Jr. is a great player and will continue to be so in this Steelers defense. All right, next one. Wealthy Life. Coming in with a $15 Venmo, Ponzi. Remember, Wealthy Life, not Wealthy Wife. Says, are we too far into teaching the offense and defense to be trading away our info by sending away Highsmith? Well, I mean, that's a component of it, Wealthy Life. But I really think the main thing with this is the Steelers are trying to win now, and they can afford to keep all 3 of their edge rushers on the team right now, so why not keep all 3? Right? And I think the Steelers view this situation as, look, Highsmith is going to be turning 30 in 2027. He's also going to be going into a contract year. And if you've been paying attention to the way NFL players kind of go about their contract situations, especially over the last decade, in contract years, they want to get that big contract extension, right? So I think the Steelers view next offseason as the perfect time to unload Alex Highsmith. And, next year, obviously, there's going to be an element to rebuilding, right? I think they will go with a younger quarterback option of some variety, whether that's one of the guys on the roster, whether that's drafting somebody else. I think we're going to have a young, cheap option at quarterback. And then, you're going to have, some of these veterans probably cut or released. And then we're going to have Alex Highsmith get unloaded because you can't afford to pay TJ Watt, $40+ million against the cap every year. Nick Herbig, like $25 million against the cap each year. And Alex Highsmith, $20+ million against the cap per year. It just doesn't make any financial sense to do that. So you got to trade Highsmith eventually. It makes the most sense to do it next offseason. So unless Highsmith just straight up tells them, I'm demanding a trade out of here, I really doubt the Steelers even take any calls on Alex Highsmith, if I'm being honest with you. But that is a component of it, Wealthy Life. All right, we got any more just regular Super Chats here? Did we get one more? Oh, I think Wealthy Life sent in another one. Yeah, he sent in another 15. Another 15 from Wealthy Life says, what does all this QB talk do to the psyche of Will Howard? Well, Will's job, right, is to cancel out the noise, not listen to it, right? His job is to focus on what he can control, which is making the most of his opportunities. He's going to have a ton of reps in training camp this year. And the Steelers are going to give him every opportunity to prove, hey, we already have a really solid number 2 quarterback option in Mason Rudolph. Are you even close to that level yet? If not, we're going to try and keep you on the practice squad, but we're going to waive you at the end of training camp. But if you play well during training camp, if you play well during the preseason games, and you show us, hey, if Aaron Rodgers, who's a 42-year-old, soon to be 43-year-old quarterback, goes down with an injury this year, we can trust you over Mason Rudolph to go into a game and get us wins this year. Right? So that is what Will Howard needs to prove this year. But Will can't let the noise or anything like that affect his process, right? Like as a player, your job is to focus on what you can control, look to improve, and do your best to kind of quiet the outside noise. So I think Will has already done a really good job of that, Wealthy Life, and that's where his focus should be. And we'll see how the kind of, cards play out when we get to Latrobe this year. $5 from Crowley says, we questionably made the playoffs last year without the upgrades. I see a deep run. Thoughts? I think there's still a lot of unknowns with this year's team, Crowley. I think that when you look at the landscape of the NFL, I think at least 28 of the 32 NFL fan bases would tell you that their team this year is better than it was last year, right? That's just the way of the NFL. You get players back from injury, you get new players in via free agency and the draft. Everybody thinks they're better going into a new year than what they were the previous season, unless you're completely blowing things up and rebuilding and all that different stuff, which is very few teams on any given year. Every fan base thinks that their team is better and that their record will reflect that, right? But that's not always how it goes. But here's what else, and here's what I'll say about the question marks with the Steelers. It's a new coaching staff, right? You have to see if Mike McCarthy still has it as a head coach. You still have to see if Patrick Graham knows what he's doing as the DC. We can guess and we can think that they will, and I certainly do. We've talked about my optimism for this coaching staff on this channel, but it's still a question mark, right? It's still a very young offensive line protecting a very old, non-mobile quarterback, right? That's a big question mark. You got a lot of new pieces to the offense. Are they going to work with the same with Aaron Rodgers in the passing game in particular? That still remains to be seen. Will they stay healthy? There's a lot of things that need to go right. But what I'll say here, Crowley, is that they have the pieces and the talent on the team to potentially make that run, right? Like if Aaron Rodgers throws the ball downfield more often, it's just a more efficient offense this year. That's going to be a step up on that side of the ball. And then if Patrick Graham brings the kind of defense that I think he's going to bring here with a lot of, too high safety pre-snap looks, you got Jalen Ramsey in the big nickel, you can be a really dangerous defense in that way, right? So I see the potential for this team to solidify themselves as a team that could go on a run in the playoffs, but they have to prove it, right? They're not an established, playoff contender at this point, so they have to prove that this year. So yes, I'm very, very optimistic, Crowley, but I still need to see it before I officially believe it, if that makes sense. $10 from Crowley, another nice little super chat here from my man, says, find it amazing how we have so many Debbie Downers after all the changes we made. I feel like we have too many one-dimensional fans. Well, listen, man, this team does get hyped up every single season, right? Like Kenny Pickett a couple years ago was being hyped up as an MVP candidate by our own fans before he had even, played, significant snaps in the National Football League, right? Mark Cabali was out there saying he was perfect in OTAs and in training camp, right? Like all these different things. We hype up our players so much here in Pittsburgh and we get our expectations super duper high, and that's on a year-to-year basis. And then every single year they disappoint, right? Or at least they have over the last several years. Even going back to 2017 during the Killer Bee era, they would win all these games, then lose in the first round of the playoffs, right? So people are used to disappointment here in Pittsburgh. And that's kind of like the default setting. They don't want to get their hearts broken, and I understand it. But I also think you can be disappointed in the previous results and still look ahead with optimism for the future, which is what we try to do here on Steelers Talk, and look at how things can go right, as well as how they could go wrong. And, I think it's just that nuanced conversation that we try to provide for you guys here on Steelers Talk. $2 from Bernard Nixon says, did teammates call out Big Ben too? Yeah, I mean, we've had multiple, right? Joey Porter Jr. called him out, and listen, man, Ben wasn't the best teammate in the world. Let's be completely honest about that. He infamously didn't really help Mason Rudolph at all. He kind of antagonized him, right? Still to this day antagonizes him on his own podcast. And then, Joey Porter Jr.'s comments and all this different stuff. Listen, I don't know Big Ben personally. All I know is that he's an all-time Steelers legend in terms of what he did on the field, delivering 2 Super Bowl championships for us. Had some big-time throws, one of the biggest throws in NFL history. Still to this day, one of the greatest memories of my life was that throw to Santonio Holmes. So, listen, man, he was dominant in the AFC North when he was here. He provided us some fantastic moments. I can't speak to his personal character or anything like that, but there are reports out there, that he maybe wasn't the best person in the world. And that's okay. Like, not everybody has to be the best person in the world. But, I think that for sure on the field, Big Ben is an absolute legend. $2 from Bernard against his, was that the same one? Oh, he sent 2 of the same one. All right. So, Bernard, thank you for the extra $2 super chat. But let's get into our second segment of the day. Bleacher Reports pre-camp checklist is going to be coming up here. Marco, man, I see your super chat. We're going to get to that after our next segment, okay? So we're going to get to that super chat after our next segment. Without further ado, let's see what Bleacher Report thinks that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to do before we get to Latrobe for Steelers training camp. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and Bleacher Report has revealed their pre-camp checklist for the Pittsburgh Steelers, including 3 moves that they think the Steelers need to make before the start of training camp in Latrobe in just a few short weeks. But before we get into the content today, make the call for me down there in the comment section. What is one move that you'd like to see the Pittsburgh Steelers make before training camp begins this year? Let me know your take down there in the comment section to kick off today's show. Now, the first thing on the number 1 item on Bleacher Report's pre-camp checklist for the Pittsburgh Steelers is to trade star edge rusher TJ Watt. And it just feels like this is just such a tired narrative at this point, guys. But this is what Brent Sobleski, the author of this article, had to say about this idea. The Pittsburgh Steelers' top remaining offseason objective may come across as shocking because of Watt's name value. At the same time, the 4-time first-team All-Pro turns 32 later this year, and he's not the caliber of player he once was. It's always better to get rid of a player 1 year too early than 1 year too late. Watt still holds value around the league and should get good return. Furthermore, the Steelers can clear up the $32 million, up to $32 million with a trade depending on terms. With Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig both signed through 2027, someone will eventually go. Pittsburgh might as well sell high to get the best possible return in exchange for Watt. Well, I'm sorry, Brent, but this just ain't happening, man. No matter how many times Colin Cowherd or Brent Sobleski or anybody else, with all due respect to those guys, kind of call this out and say the Steelers should do this, the Steelers absolutely will not trade TJ Watt before the start of the season. And I'm not even trying to say that there isn't an argument to be made that the Steelers should have traded TJ Watt this offseason if they could. It's just that the Steelers, if they're going to make that decision, should have made it a long time ago. I really don't think the Steelers are open to trading Watt whatsoever. This is very much a win-now season for the Pittsburgh Steelers in their eyes. You don't bring back a 42-year-old starting quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and bring in a longtime veteran head coach and Mike McCarthy, not to mention their plethora of other moves that they brought in veterans like Jamel Dean and Michael Pittman Jr. and giving them pretty decent contracts, right? Bringing them in here because the Steelers are trying to win a Super Bowl with their current collection of talent. And no matter how unrealistic people like Brent Sobleski or Colin Cowherd or anybody else thinks that is the approach the Pittsburgh Steelers are taking with this. And, given that information, given that the Steelers and their vision for this team is to try and compete for a 7th Super Bowl, which would be an NFL record this year, they're not going to, get rid of one of, if not the best defensive player on the team. That just doesn't make any sense in terms of aligning with their vision for this season. Now, they've also publicly identified Watt as a one-helmet guy. They've identified guys like Ben Roethlisberger and Cam Hayward as these type of guys in the past, and the Steelers have kept their word of keeping these guys around even when, they're arguably past their primes. I mean, Cam Hayward has been unbelievable over the last couple of seasons, even into his old age. But Ben Roethlisberger certainly waned in the later years of his career. I think we're already starting to see a little bit of regression from TJ Watt. But it seems like the Steelers are very loyal to their star players, and they are going to try and keep TJ Watt around as long as they possibly can till Watt eventually retires is probably the goal here. But second, is anyone trading high draft capital for TJ Watt? Like I heard Colin Cowherd say like very affirmatively that, oh yes, we can definitely get a first round pick for TJ Watt. But like, I'm not so sure that's the case. I'm going to be breaking down some of the reasons why Watt's trade value might be lower than you might think here in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors here on Steelers Talk, which is Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. The World Cup is finally here, so you can get your soccer lineups in over the next several weeks, or if that's not really your thing, Prize Picks has a number of other sports to choose from, like baseball and more, to enhance your sports viewing experience this summer. You can even look ahead to next year's football season here with this Prize Picks projection here that I have on both the Steelers and the Browns. I'm taking the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, as well as the more on receiving touchdowns for DK Metcalf, taking the more on interceptions for Carson Schlesinger, last year's defensive rookie of the year. This particular projection, you guys can win $105 from our friends at Prize Picks with a $20 entry fee. If you get all three correct in what Prize Picks calls a power play. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. As always, play responsibly, and a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So the first reason why TJ Watt's trade value might not be as high as you might think is that he is entering his age 32 season, and aging former superstars, or maybe you want to say he's currently a superstar, the value goes down. It's just the way that it goes because teams are worried about the reality of regression that happens in players like this when they get past the age of 30. And he is coming off a down year, paired with that fact that he is getting older. So that is certainly a sign of regression. That doesn't necessarily mean TJ Watt, it's impossible for him to have a bounce back season this year and get back into the double digits of sacks. But last year, just 7 sacks for somebody that is as expensive as TJ Watt is. Now, he's still providing the double digit TFL numbers and, getting 3 forced fumbles and 2 fumble recoveries. So he's still making an impact, right? He's still a star level player. TJ Watt is still arguably the best defensive player on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But right now they're paying him quarterback level money, and the team that acquires him via trade would have to pay an extremely high amount as well, because a lot of Watt's money is actually tied up into guaranteed base salary that would then be transferring over to his new team. All right, like $32 million against the cap the next 2 years for the team that would end up trading for him. That's a lot of money, even for a guy like TJ Watt, who is an excellent player. And then 2028, it's even higher at over $36 million. And right now, like talking about the idea of trading TJ Watt right now, there's only 6 teams in the entire NFL that have enough cap space right now to afford that $32 million against the cap here in 2026 if they were to acquire TJ Watt via trade. I mean, sure, there's definitely some teams out there that are close enough where if they make a couple of adjustments with the cap, maybe restructure a couple deals, maybe they trade a player of their own right, they could get there. Teams like the Colts and Broncos could certainly get there, not to mention maybe the Falcons or the Jets. But listen, man, I just think that right now it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a lot of these teams to trade for TJ Watt, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Steelers to trade for TJ Watt, if I'm being completely frank with you guys. And I'm really unsure. Watt could still get a first rounder on the open market. Like, obviously he's still a very good, impactful player, but like with him coming off a down year and he's already going to be turning 32 and he's massively expensive, he's a bit of a risk for a team to try and trade for at this point in his career. Therefore, I think maybe, it's possible that the best the Steelers could get for him in a trade is a second-round pick. And in a win-now season, that just makes no sense to unload TJ Watt at this point for that low of a trade value. And really, the earliest Watt could be traded, in my opinion, is next offseason. Like, let's say there's a scenario here where Watt underperforms again, and then you have Highsmith, who is like the best edge rusher on the team. And he's like outperforming TJ Watt in every metric you could think of. And he's the guy that you want to pay those big bucks to long term. Then there's a situation there where maybe you would consider trading TJ Watt next offseason and extending Alex Highsmith. But like, Highsmith's going to have to play really well, and Watt's going to have to play pretty darn bad for the Steelers to want to do and kind of go down that route, in my opinion. And listen, the Steelers do have a reasonable out on TJ Watt's contract 2 years down the road. So I think we'll probably see TJ Watt remain with the Pittsburgh Steelers for at least the next 2 years, and then they'll reevaluate his situation after these next 2 seasons. But after signing him to that massive contract last offseason, the Steelers are kind of stuck with TJ Watt, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, and I think we're going to see Watt in Pittsburgh for at least the next 2 seasons. And by the way, I think he's going to have a bounce-back season this year. I think Patrick Graham's scheme is going to be really, really good for him. I think it's going to create way more one-on-one opportunities for him, and I think we're going to see his sack production increase this year as a result. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should Pittsburgh be shopping TJ Watt right now? Colin Cowherd, Brett Sobleski, all these guys think the Steelers should trade TJ Watt right now, despite this being a win now season. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments. Then the next item on Bleacher Report's pre-camp checklist here for the Steelers is to solve the left tackle position heading into the year. This is what Sobleski had to say in his article regarding this position group. On the other side of the ball, the Steelers legitimately need to address left tackle since Broderick Jones' status remains unclear due to a neck injury. Troy Fautanu moving from right to left side is the most logical step, though the signing of Taylor Decker should be considered as well. Now, personally, guys, I don't think left tackle is a big issue at all, at least in the minds of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's actually pretty simple. I think, obviously, the plan right now is to put Troy Fautanu over to the left side here. He played right tackle his first 2 years here in the league. They're moving him over to the left side where he played in college, and he was a first-round pick based on his tape playing at left tackle. So I'm 100% comfortable with Fautanu making that move back over to the left side. He was awesome there at Washington. I think he's going to be awesome there here in Pittsburgh. And then on the other side at right tackle, you got Dylan Cook, who showed last year that he is a very high floor option. He's played both left and right tackle in his career, and I think that he played pretty darn well. I think he played better than Broderick Jones at left tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. He struggled in the playoff game, but I think most offensive tackles struggle against Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, so I'm willing to give him a pass on that game. And then you have your first-round pick, and Max Ahanicher, who is hoping to be that high ceiling option and take over that right tackle job as early as this season over Dylan Cook. So right now, I don't think the Steelers really feel that this is as pressing of a need as Brett Sobleski from Bleacher Report seems to think. And then the final thing that Bleacher Report says the Steelers should do before training camp is to add a veteran safety. This is what Brett Sobleski had to say in his article about this particular position. Another veteran addition could come at safety where Pittsburgh lacks a true over-the-top defender. A Jimmy Ward or Xavier Woods could come into play at that given position. Now listen, man, I don't necessarily think Patrick Graham's scheme needs a true free safety. We're hearing a ton of reports that the Steelers are going to be playing a lot of two high safety looks pre-snap this year, and I think the reason why they ended up getting Jaquan Brisker is because he is very similar to Deshaun Elliott in terms of his play style, and they want two safeties in there with similar play styles so that they can be interchangeable in the different kinds of roles that they can play. And of course, you have Jalen Ramsey that's a part of that mix as well. However, more depth at safety, I think, would absolutely be welcome for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm personally not a big fan of Darnell Savage. He has been absolutely terrible on film over the last several years, and he's had injury issues. You cannot trust Darnell Savage, in my opinion. So if the Steelers wanted to go out at some point here and get an additional veteran safety to be a backup, I'd be fine with that. You know, Donovan Wilson, Jordan Poyer actually played pretty well last year, and Wilson's actually started for a Mike McCarthy defense before. And then as Sobleski points out, Xavier Woods and Jimmy Ward, two longtime starters in this league, are still available as well. They're getting older, but I think my pick for this team and this defense would be Donovan Wilson. Wilson has experience with Joe Witt Jr., one of this team's new secondaries coaches. He was there in Dallas with McCarthy, and he started for McCarthy at safety for a number of years there with the Dallas Cowboys. And if something were to happen, God forbid, to Deshaun Elliott again or Jaquan Brisker this year, I would trust Donovan Wilson as a starting safety in the interim a lot more than I would trust Darnell Savage at this current point in these guys' careers. But what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. question, should Pittsburgh sign another safety before the start of training camp? And if so, which one would you want to go get? For me, my guy is Donovan Wilson. I would like to bring him in on a vet minimum deal and have him compete with Darnell Savage for that third safety spot. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. And that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. If you guys want in-depth Steelers videos like this every single day, that's what we're providing for you guys 100% free on this channel. So make sure you join the over 100,000 subscribers that have already joined our family by clicking that subscribe button right now. Second segment in the books. Coming up next, ESPN has revealed a big surprise at Steelers OTAs this year, and I'm going to react to that and share my pick for the biggest surprise from Steelers OTAs this year. Then Jamel Dean, we're getting to his profile, what you guys can expect from him going into his age 30 season. So I know there's a lot of PTSD of signing corners, that are that old here in Pittsburgh, but I think this one might actually work out for us. And then, of course, we have our Madden Sim at the end of the show, so make sure you guys stick around for that. But $5 from Marco, man. And he says, I know you scouted Black as a true interior rusher. Do you have any concerns about Pecco converting him to a true nose after his pad issues? Are his pad issues flexible or fixable? Excuse me. I do think that they're fixable, but he is so high cut, right? So he's going to have to learn to naturally play lower and get comfortable doing that. And listen, man, when he does it right, it is unbelievable. There are individual reps from Y.A. Black this past season, even playing nose tackle, where he's dominant, like straight up dominant when he gets the pad level right. It's just he doesn't do it nearly enough, and he's not consistent in that way. And listen, man, he's a rookie. That's going to happen, right? You're going to have inconsistencies with rookies. So it's really going to come down to Y.A. and how well he takes to the coaching, if he can get those pads down consistently, because he's definitely got the body type to be like not just like a good nose tackle, he could be a great nose tackle. All right, like he's got super long arms to control space, and he's obviously massive, and he's just hard to move. But like when he's playing so upright at times, especially against wide zone, he can get moved around, like because he's so tall, right? And he can be pushed off balance essentially when moving laterally. So I'm excited to see what Y.A. Black can do at the nose tackle position this year. That doesn't mean that's the only place he's going to play, by the way. I do think they will play him, at the defensive tackle spot, more of that 3 technique type of spot in certain moments, because I just don't see the Steelers playing a whole lot of true 3-4 base personnel the way that Steelers fans are used to under Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin. I think they're going to play way more nickel, way more dime. And honestly, there's just not going to be a ton of reps this year, in my opinion, where there's a true nose tackle on the field. So, also keep that in mind, Marco, man. $2 from Mexamander says the Steelers should hire Elijah Maker Tucker at left guard. I think he's talking about Elijah Vera Tucker, if I'm not mistaken, at left guard, and I think he's on the Patriots. I think he signed with the Patriots in free agency, Mexamander, so that's not a possibility. Next one here, if we have another one. That's it. All right, cool. Let me check my Venmos. No Venmos. All right, well, keep those super chats coming here, guys. We're going to get into our next segment here, which should be a bit of a shorter one. But ESPN revealed what the biggest surprise at Steelers OTAs was. I'm going to react to that, as well as share my pick for the biggest surprise at Steelers OTAs this year. So without further ado, let's get into our next segment here on Steelers Talk Live. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sparrow, and ESPN just revealed Pittsburgh's biggest surprise at OTA practices this year. Today, I'm going to be reacting to what they think was that biggest surprise, and I will kind of give my own pick for this particular category before we say goodbye by the end of the show. But guys, ESPN makes you pay $12.99 for their premium content on ESPN Plus and to view this content on their website. But today, here on Steelers Talk Talk, we are giving you the same stuff here, plus more, 100% free. So there's really no reason not to click that subscribe button here for free premium Steelers content every single day. This is particularly valuable during the draft season where there's like Mel Kiper Jr. mock drafts and all this different stuff that is behind a paywall. We're covering everything that they're talking about on this show in our news and rumors segment. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already to get all the latest Steelers news and rumors 100% free right here on YouTube. All right, so now let's get into ESPN's pick for the biggest OTA surprise for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was rookie cornerback Dalen Everett. This is according to Steelers beat reporter for ESPN, Brooke Pryor, who had this to say about the Bulldog, or former Bulldog, corner out of Georgia. Everett, one of the Steelers' 3 third-round draft picks, turned heads with a larger-than-expected role in minicamp as cornerback Joey Porter Jr. limited his participation while hoping for a contract extension. The player out of Georgia had held his own as he battled with wide receiver DK Metcalf and got his hands on several passes. Now listen, man, I am cautiously optimistic about Dalen Everett. He was pretty impressive during OTAs this year based on the reports that were on the ground there in the south side of Pittsburgh. So that is obviously very encouraging. You spent a pretty high draft pick on this young man. You spent a third-round pick on somebody. You expect that player to eventually be a starter for you. But in my opinion, he actually projects better as either a big nickel or a safety, and probably as Jalen Ramsey's long-term replacement at the big nickel spot. It's also possible he could be maybe Jaquan Brisker's long-term replacement at that other safety spot, because he is a bigger corner with long arms. And he's very physical. He's a very good tackler. It's one of the best things about his profile. And because of that, I could also see him making that move over to safety, because Jaquan Brisker's only on a 1-year deal. They don't have a quote-unquote long-term plan at the other side of that safety spot alongside Deshaun Elliott. I could see Dalen Everett making that transition with his play style. I think he'd be a good fit at that particular spot with this kind of 2-high safety defense, kind of that quarters aligned safety. I think he'd be very, very good at that particular spot. I think that plays to a lot of his strengths as a player. But with that said, if he balls out on the outside and he proves himself as like a legitimate outside corner, I won't complain about that. I might have my reservations as to whether or not he's actually going to be able to do that. I think that he's got heavy feet. I think there's a reason why he skipped the agility testing at the combine this year, and it's because, when he's in man coverage or in match coverage, good route runners can pretty easily separate versus him, unless they're running just a straight go ball down the sideline or a post. He's very fast, and he's got long arms. There's a lot of those physical tools that you really like. But with his physicality, his ability to play in off coverage and play in zone, have his eyes on the quarterback, I think he's a better fit actually as a big nickel or as a safety than he is as an outside corner. But hey, if he holds his own when the pads go on in Latrobe and in the preseason games, he proves himself as a legitimate outside corner on the opposite side of Joey Porter Jr. for the future. I'm not going to say no to that whatsoever, but let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. What do you think is Dalen Everett's best fit long-term in the Steelers defense? Do you think he's best as an outside corner, type CB? Do you think he's eventually going to take Jalen Ramsey's spot at that big nickel spot, type BN? Or do you think he'll play safety, type S, if you think safety? While you answer that question, I want to tell you about a Steelers projection on the Prize Picks app that I have absolutely fallen in love with for the Steelers' Week 1 matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons here, guys, and that is taking the more on receiving yards for number 1 receiver DK Metcalf. It's only set at 49.5 right now. And, when DK plays defenses that aren't necessarily terrific, he's usually above that. And I think just DK's numbers in general are going to go up this year because Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to get him the ball more because there's better receivers around Metcalf, so he won't be getting as many double teams. He won't be getting all this attention from opposing safeties. And I think, we're going to see the dividends of that immediately, and Rodgers is going to be looking to feed his number 1 receiver. Alongside taking the more on receiving yards for DK Metcalf, though, for my Week 1 lineup here for Prize Picks, I'm taking the more on Aaron Rodgers passing yards as well, and I'm taking the less on receiving yards for Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts. So if you guys want to get in a projection, you guys can download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. As always, guys, please play responsibly. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring Steelers Talk. Now, my pick for the biggest OTA surprise was that Spencer Anderson really held that starting right guard spot throughout the course of Steelers OTAs this year. Now, there are reports out there from a number of different Steelers beat writers that Jennings Dunker is still very much adjusting to the move to offensive guard. He played tackle at Iowa, and the Steelers see him long-term as a guard. And according to the reports on the ground, he's still very much in the midst of that adjustment. Now, does that mean that Dunker is completely out of the running for this position this year? Hell no. All right, he's going to have Latrobe. He's going to have the preseason games. If he balls out in those games, he's considered the future at the right guard position here in Pittsburgh. He's going to get his opportunity eventually. But it does appear that Spence might actually have a decent chance to start at right guard for this offensive line this year. Now, of course, they also brought in Brock Hoffman, who is somebody that's been, kind of a backup center and guard interior lineman throughout his career. He's a former UDFA and he was actually brought in by Mike McCarthy. So they obviously brought him in for a reason, and he's going to compete for this job as well. Anderson, a former 7th-round pick, has come in, sporadically throughout his Steelers career. He's played okay. He hasn't been stellar. He'd be a replacement-level starter, I think, if the Steelers end up, deciding to start him this year. But my question is that if they decide to play Spencer Anderson at right guard this year, will he still be this team's jumbo tight end? Because we have heard Aaron Rodgers and others say that they want the jumbo tight end packages to return for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It really gave this team, especially with Darnell Washington as that other tight end in there, a real advantage in the run game on early downs in particular. And Spencer Anderson also has pretty decent hands. I mean, according to Aaron Rodgers, he was catching passes and all this different stuff and practices. And of course, he didn't end up throwing a touchdown to him during the season. But, that's definitely a possibility this year if they want to move him back over there. But my guess as to how they'll handle Spencer Anderson is kind of similar to how last year when the Steelers dealt with injuries at the guard position, they would put Spencer in there at one of the guard spots, and then they'd move him to that jumbo tight end spot. And then last year they put like Andrus Peat in there on the reps that Anderson was playing jumbo tight end. I think they might do that this year with Brock Hoffman or Jennings Dunker, depending on who looks better throughout the course of the season, all that different stuff. But long story short, I still think they can absolutely start Spencer Anderson at right guard this year and still play him at that jumbo tight end spot. I don't think those two things, are necessarily dependent on each other. But who starts week one at right guard? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Type SA for Spencer Anderson, BH for Brock Hoffman, or GD for Jennings Dunker. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. If you guys want more Steelers content from us all throughout the course of the offseason as we prepare for the start of the 2026 NFL campaign for your Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. $5 from Bernard says, the Hall better not do A-Rod like Bill A-Rod.
His first Belichick. The Hall better not do A-Rod like Bill Belichick. A-Rod is first ballot.
Okay. I was confused there, Bernard. They might. Man,
I might need a...
If they did it to Bill Belichick, the greatest head coach in the history of professional football, they may do it to one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time just because they don't like him. Right? That just because they don't like him. It's very possible that that's what they end up doing. I hope they don't. I mean, Rodgers clearly deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If anyone deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, it's Bill Belichick. And if it's not Bill Belichick, it's probably Tom Brady. If it's not Tom Brady, it's probably Aaron Rodgers. So, that's how I feel about it. I'm right there with you, Bernard. All right. I do not think I got any more. Nope. Okay, let's get into our final segment of the day here, guys, where we're going to be breaking down the profile of one cornerback, Jamel Dean, who was signed to the Steelers this free agency and was one of the better value pickups for not just the Steelers this year, guys, but for any team in professional football, in my opinion. Can't wait to talk about his profile and what he's going to bring to the Steelers defense this year. So without further ado here, man, let's get right into it. Welcome into Steelers Talk by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it's time to meet new Steelers cornerback Jamel Dean that the team signed in free agency this year. And I'm going to tell you why I think this was one of the better value signings not only for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, but for any team in professional football here in 2026. Now, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to welcome Jamel Dean to the Berg. I don't think enough people are talking about how impactful this signing is going to be for the black and gold on defense this year. So if you want to show your love to Jamel, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to kick off today's show. Now, listen, man, Pittsburgh has certainly made some poor decisions in terms of veteran cornerbacks that they have added to this defense over the years. All right, and there's no one that is denying that. All right, you take a look at some of the recent veteran cornerbacks that they've added. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is by far the best corner on this list, and he doesn't even play like a true corner. Like, he plays big nickel and like safety. Like, he's like not even a true outside corner. But then you bring in Darius Slay last year, who was just completely cooked. Dante Jackson was actually pretty good, had a lot of interceptions, but he had some lapses in coverage. And then you had Cam Sutton, Patrick Peterson, and Levi Wallace. We have, those guys certainly didn't work out the way that you wanted them to either. But listen, man, I think Jamel Dean is going to be different. And even though on the surface they look very similar, right? Like, the Steelers have brought in a lot of older veteran cornerbacks in free agency in the past, and pretty much none of them have worked out. And Jamel Dean is going to be turning 30 this year. But I think not only is this going to work out, guys, but this is probably my favorite signing that the Pittsburgh Steelers made this year. I think it's an incredible value for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's get into some of the reasons why. First, by starting with Jamel Dean, kind of who he is as a player. He's going into his age 30 season, brings excellent size at 6'1", 206 pounds. He's a Super Bowl champion. He was a starting corner for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020. That, by the way, had a 43-year-old quarterback playing for them that season. I'm just going to throw that out there. And then his PFF grade last year was the 5th highest in the National Football League among corners. And he's always been a very good grader. And this is playing in a defense with Todd Bowles as his defensive coordinator and then head coach there in Tampa that's very blitz heavy. He trusts his corners to play in man-to-man coverage a lot. And despite that, he's ranking in the top 10 many years, definitely in the top 15s. He's never had a PFF grade lower than a 71.8. And just last year, he had the highest PFF grade of his career with an 80.6, which ranked him in the top 5 among corners in the NFL. So this is somebody that's aging like fine wine to this point, and you're hoping, that doesn't turn into milk this year. But listen, man, he's consistently putting up good impact numbers. So you guys can see here, 9 PBUs last year and 3 interceptions, had 2 forced fumbles as well. We're going to talk about his physicality as a run defender and a tackler here in just a second. But this is a player that is still, frankly, at the top of his game. And even though he is getting a bit older, and I understand the skepticism of a lot of Steelers fans out there for signing older corners, this guy played in a system that asked him to play in a lot of man coverage last year. That wasn't the case for Darius Slay coming here last year. And I think that Dean is more equipped to be a good corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers throughout the course of his contract. But coming up here, 5 reasons why I love this signing. All right, I think that this is a phenomenal signing, guys. I'm going to be breaking down the contract, breaking down some of the main things that he's going to provide for this Steelers defense this year that is going to be so valuable, in my opinion. But before we get into the rest of Jamel Dean's player profile today, I want to tell you about our friends here at Prize Picks, which is America's #1 sports picks app. The World Cup is finally here, so you can get your soccer lineups in over the next several weeks. Or if that's not really your thing, Prize Picks has a number of other sports to choose from, like baseball and more, to enhance your sports viewing experience this summer. You can even look ahead here to next year's football season with things like passing yards, receiving touchdowns, interceptions, and more. With this Prize Picks projection, I'm taking the more on passing yards for Aaron Rodgers, the more on receiving touchdowns for DK Metcalf, and the more on interceptions for last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year, Carson Schlesinger. With this particular projection, guys, you can put in a $20 entry fee and come away with $105 if you get all 3 of these projections correct in what Prize Picks calls a power play. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. As always, guys, please play responsibly. Click the link in the comments and description to download the app today. And a big thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring Steelers Talk. So the first reason why I love this signing of Jamel Dean for the Pittsburgh Steelers is the awesome value contract that you get him for. All right. And also, it's pretty easy to get out of, in the situation here where Jamel, heavily regresses because of, physical tools and all that different stuff. Right now, he's the 26th highest paid cornerback in football at just $12.25 million per season over 3 years. And, like I mentioned before, not only is this just a great value for the team for somebody that was was a top 5 corner last year according to PFF grading, but if he kind of turns into a pumpkin here and he's no longer any good, you can get out of his contract pretty reasonably heading into next year. You can take a look here at what the Steelers can save versus what they'd be taking on in dead cap, either pre-June 1st or post-June 1st. If you put a post-June 1st designation on him, you can save $12 million against the cap next year by letting him go and only taking on $4 million in dead cap. And then in 2028, if you cut him, you save a little bit over $11 million, and you only take on $4 million in dead cap in 2028 if you decide to cut him then. So really, this is a very reasonable contract for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're protected in case Jamel Dean regresses from a physical perspective, but for all they know, they're acquiring one of the best man-to-man cover corners in the National Football League here, guys. And I just think that the Steelers honestly didn't think they were going to be able to get a corner of this kind of caliber for the price that they did, and they kind of felt like this is too good to pass up. We have to take this deal to add to our cornerback room, because I think the original plan, guys, was to have Asante Samuel Jr. be like the veteran option at CB2. They ended up signing him, if you remember, on the first day of free agency before free agency actually opened up, and then they were going to draft a rookie relatively early on, and they were going to have those two guys battle it out for the starting position opposite of Joey Porter Jr., who of course is the number 1 corner in this Steelers defense. But then when they found out they could get Jamel Dean, that good of a cover corner, for just $12.25 million, not even paying him in the top 25 among NFL corners today, they felt that value was just too good to pass up, and they ended up taking that deal. But the reason why he's such a good value, guys, is because he is still, even going into his age 30 season, one of the best man-to-man cover corners in the league. All right, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they play a lot of man, and they really trust these corners that they have to play a lot of one-on-one with very little safety help. They like to blitz a lot, if you know anything about Todd Bowles. And Dean was fantastic in man coverage last year. He probably had his best season of his career playing in man, and he's not slowing down, at least not yet. And like I mentioned earlier, he's kind of aging like fine wine in that regard. And guess what, guys? Joey Porter Jr. is also one of the best man-to-man erasers in the league as well. So not only do you have Joey Porter Jr. that can take away those number 1 receivers, but you got Jamel Dean, who is still more than capable of manning up those number 2 kind of assignments for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers now have one of, if not the best man-to-man cover corner duo in the entire National Football League. That is, if Jamel Dean can keep up this pace. And guys, the best defenses in the NFL can play man when they want. You look at teams like Houston, you look at teams like Denver last year. They were among the league leaders in man coverage percentage last year, and that's because they can freaking do it, man. Like they can line up man to man against an opposing team's receivers and say, "Go ahead, try and beat our guys," and you're not going to be able to do that. And guess what? I think the Steelers are capable of doing that now. Last year, obviously, it wasn't the case. Jalen Ramsey is not an outside corner anymore. Darius Slay came to us from a very quarters and cover 6 heavy system in Philly, and then they asked him to play a lot of press man early in the season. It was just a complete miscasting from Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan last year. But guess what? You want to play that style of defense this year? Jamel Dean actually fits that style of defense excellently. And then another reason why I think the Steelers really like Jamel Dean is because of how physical he is as a tackler and how good he is as a run defender. All right, Joey Porter Jr., he's got the physical tools to be a really good run defender and tackler, but sometimes he can, his technique can leave him as a tackler. That's not the case with Jamel Dean, man. He puts his face in the fan. He's making every tackle that comes his way versus screens and, outside runs, and he is so reliable in that way. Just such a reliable veteran that also has a championship pedigree, by the way. This guy has won a Super Bowl. He understands what it takes to get to the mountaintop, and he understands what it means to be playing football in February at a high level. So that championship pedigree is something that I definitely love about Jamel Dean, what he's bringing here. This is still a team, whether the fans agree with it or not. The Steelers still think that they're a team that can compete for a Super Bowl, and adding a player like this that has been there and done that, I think is fantastic. And then also the mentorship for the rest of the room. There's still a lot of young players here in the Steelers cornerback room, including Joey Porter Jr., who is still a young player, by the way, can still learn a thing or two from Jamel Dean. And then you just added, Dalen Everett, who could learn a lot from him as well. So, I love that aspect of the signing as well. But fill in the blank for me down there in the comment section. The Steelers have a top blank cornerback duo in the NFL right now. Do you think this is top 10, top 5? Do you think they stink? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. And I think if we get the Jamel Dean that we got last year in Tampa Bay, I think that it's not crazy to say this could be a top 5 cornerback duo here in football. And I'm that high on this group heading into the season. All right, now that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. We're going to be doing player profiles like this on all the Steelers veterans that they added this offseason. So we got a lot more to go here. We have one on Michael Pittman Jr. already up on the channel. We already did player profiles for all the rookies that the Steelers ended up drafting this year. So if you guys want that in-depth look into these new Steelers players during the NFL offseason, that's what we provide for you guys here on Steelers Talk. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right. Well, after, a longer wait here, we do have actually a super chat, a Venmo from Joshua C. So let's get to Joshua's Venmo here. It says, with the Steelers adding so much talent to the secondary, do you think they should lean into more dime package?
How much was this for?
$2. Do you think they should lean into more dime packages and let Nick Herbig become a true every down disruptive piece, or is stopping the run still the bigger concern heading into camp? Well, Joshua, I think it's going to be a mix, all right? I think they will play more dime this year. I will just say that right up front. I think if you want to show the starting lineup here of the NASCAR package here, Ponzi, that would be helpful for this discussion. I think that they will have a certain kind of lighter package when it's second down and long, third and medium, third and long. When the defense has to throw the ball to move the chains, 2-minute drills. I think we're going to see something like this, all right, where you've got, 3 edge rushers essentially on the field alongside Keanu Benton, who's a disruptive kind of penetrator at defensive line. And you're going to be doing a lot of stunts and loops and games and doing all these different things with these edge rushers to try and create confusion, number one, but just get them to the quarterback as efficiently as possible. And then on the back end there, I think we're going to see Jalen Ramsey play what they call the money backer, which is essentially a dime linebacker. So he'll be playing the responsibilities of a linebacker, but because it's a pass-only situation, he's really responsible for manning the middle of the field and, reading the eyes of the quarterback and making sure that nothing is getting thrown over the middle. He's going to be that guy that protects the middle of the field this year. I think he's going to be so good at that role. But then you got Joey Porter Jr. and Jamel Dean, 2 of some of the best cover corners and man-to-man coverage on the outside to just shut down the sidelines as well. So if in third down situations, man, it's going to be tough to go man-to-man, no matter who you have at receiver, by the way, Joey Porter Jr. and Jamel Dean on the outside. And then if you want to throw over the middle, you have to deal with Jalen Ramsey reading the eyes of your quarterback. That's going to put the ball in danger a lot if you're going to throw the ball down the field in those third and long situations. And then, you got all these incredible edge rushers and, pass rushers getting after your quarterback while all that's happening. So I really like what the Steelers can do in these kind of NASCAR lighter packages. The big question is going to be, can the Steelers get to those third and long situations consistently? And to do that, you have to stop the run. And, when you go to those early down situations, I think, we've talked about it on the show. Sebastian Joseph Day should be huge for that, early downs. He's an awesome run defender. I think they get Keanu Benton off the field most of the time on early downs. And then, I think that big nickel spot with Jalen Ramsey is going to be huge because they want to play a lot of 2 high safeties so that they can have a lot of versatility on ambiguity pre-snap heading into post-snap. And the only way you can really play a lot of 2 high safety stuff and still stop the run is if you have a good big nickel player. Like this honestly started, Ponzi, back in LA with Brandon Staley. When he had, fantastic defensive linemen like Aaron Donald, first of all, to two-gap. Like, of course, that helps. But then you had Jalen Ramsey, who played a lot of nickel on early downs for that Rams team. And, you know, he was filling run fits. You know, he was a big-time run defender for that Rams team on that defense, which, by the way, like, they played the most, I think the highest percentage of two high safeties pre-snap that season. They were bottom 3 in yards per rush allowed. Like, they had one of the best run defenses in the league while still being able to play two high safeties. And that's the name of the game here, Ponzi. That's what everyone is seeking. That's what Seattle found last year. That's what Philly found 2 years ago. You know, when you have that kind of big nickel player that can play that run fit, kind of play like a linebacker as a run defender, but also cover on early downs, that opens up that second safety to play deep. And that gives the defense so much more options in terms of coverage, in terms of the ambiguity, the post-snap rotations. And I think that's what we want to. That's what Patrick Graham wants to see here in Pittsburgh this year. It's the modern meta of the NFL defense. The Steelers have the horses to run that system, specifically because of Jalen Ramsey. So, yeah, man, I think it's going to be a lot of fun on defense this year. I think there's a good chance this team is for sure a top 10 defense. I think there's a decent chance they're top 5, and I would not be shocked if they're one of, if not the best defenses in football. Now, obviously, there's a lot of good defenses, right, Bonzi?
Yep.
Denver, Houston, Seattle. Like, to be at the top of that list, it's going to be a chore. But the Steelers have a lot of talent. They do. And I'm excited to see if Patrick Graham can get the most out of it.
It's just one more of those things, though, of just upgrading your players and upgrading your scheme at the same time. Usually leads to good combinations. But, I mean, obviously, football's not played on paper. So
exactly. Okay, man. Well, we're going to get into our next Madden sim here. Right now, the Steelers are 7-2. They've swept both the Bengals and the Browns in the division. That gets them 4 of their 7 wins so far. They've lost against Atlanta and Indianapolis, but they're coming off of 4 straight victories. And now coming off that win versus Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football, they're going to Philly to take on the Eagles. Can they continue the win streak and get to 8-2, or are they going to lose and go down to 7-3?
And if you're wondering, the Steelers currently do have a 1.5 lead over the Ravens.
All right, 1.5 games in first over the Ravens here. So hopefully the Steelers can protect that. But honestly, Ponzi, I feel like we're playing with house money here, man. Because if you lose, we're sitting at 7-3. I still feel good about this team's chances to win 3 more games and make the playoffs. But let's see if the Steelers can pull off this victory in enemy territory.
I don't believe they've won against the Eagles in quite some time.
Yeah, they haven't beaten them in a long time, bro. But it looks like you brought out the gray face mask for Pittsburgh in this one. And the kick is away. Steelers will receive the ball first. It's a good kick, fielded at around the 3-yard line. Jeremy Bernard tries to make a move and fails. Only gets to the 20-yard line, and that is where Aaron Rodgers block numbers and gray face mask.
Yep.
I got to say, Ponzi, not a bad look here for the jerseys today.
After the spiteful jersey that was in the Browns game, I've been cooking. The block numbers are easily my favorite jersey from the Steelers. Actually, I might cop one of them. Let's see what Aaron Rodgers can do.
All right, under center, offset I formation. Rodgers will hand it off to Warren. Nice hole up the middle, forms. He's going to pick up 12 yards here in the Steelers. First down. All right, I want to put out a call here, all right? If you guys have hashtag Steelers questions that you want answered, this is the time to do so. All right, so Ponzi, I want you to be kind of perusing to seeing if there's any good hashtag Steelers questions, and I'll leave it up to Ponzi to kind of determine which ones are good questions, which ones aren't good questions. And we'll answer Steelers questions as this Madden stream goes on. It looks like an outside zone run here to Jalen Warren, and another big hole forms on the outside. He picks up another good gain, gets down to midfield already. First down, Steelers.
Feed him more, man.
I mean, Jalen Warren has been fantastic in this simulated season. I'll tell you that much. Hopefully he plays this well in the actual season. Under center here, condensed formation with a condensed bunch out to the left. Play action, roll out to the right. Rodgers throws quickly, and it's going to be caught for a short gain to Pat Freiermuth, gain of 1.
Very off-platform throw. So we haven't beat them in Philly since 1965.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
I'd be surprised if there's someone in this chat room who was born there.
Under center here, another condensed formation out to the left. 5-step drop, Rodgers, pocket collapsing, throws short, and it's going to be dropped. Good coverage by Philly. 3rd down and 9 here. So after a promising start to the drive, Ponzi, we are now in danger of punting. Got to move the chains here. Again, guys, if you have hashtag Steelers questions in the chat, Ponzi's going to determine which ones are good enough to make the show here. Empty formation. Rodgers looking, throwing quickly. Curl route at the sticks. Caught by Metcalf. 1st down. Steelers. Too easy, baby. Too easy.
See if I can get this to work.
And now the Steelers in Philly territory at the 36. I formation with Riley Nowakowski, the fullback. Another condensed formation from under center. Handoff Warren, and he will be collided with and taken down after a 2-yard gain by Jordan Davis, the massive nose tackle out of Georgia.
All right, ignore this left of the screen real quick.
All right. Here we go, shotgun, trips left here for Rodgers. He will hand it off. Warren, big hole forms again. There he goes. He's rushing towards the end zone. They're not going to catch him. Touchdown, Steelers, Jalen Warren. Absolutely electric. And he puts the Steelers up early in the city of brotherly love. Let's go, man. Aaron Rodgers high-fiving people like he did all that shit. Now, he did move the chains on 3rd and 9. Fair enough, but man, Jalen Warren did a lot of the heavy lifting there as the Steelers going to start this game off on the right foot for sure. Kick is up, and it is good. A flag. I think they ran into the kicker. Yep, they did run into the kicker. Let's see what the Steelers decide to do. I think they might just take the point. And they do. Steelers up 7-0 to start this game at Lincoln Financial Field. 7-2, Pittsburgh Steelers going right down the field with the run game. Patrick Queen liking that on the sideline. Jalen Hurts already upset with the defense. Goodness gracious. First A.J. Brown, now the entire defense. What are we doing, Jalen? Getting on everyone's bad side. All right, the kick is away from Boswell, and he's just going to put it in the back of the end zone. And it's, I mean, you're giving them the ball at the 35? What are we doing, Boz? This is a joke. So stupid decision by Boz to kick it out of the back of the end zone. Philly gets the ball at the 35 to start their first drive. Let's see how the Steelers defense holds up against Barkley. Mekhi Lemon playing for the Eagles, of course. How is Jalen Hurts an X factor? That is such bullshit. Takes the snap from trips right, looking. Now he's stepping up. Now he's looking to run, and he's electric with his legs. Nobody's even close to him, and he gets all the way down to the Steelers' 44. Something tells me this is going to be a Jalen Hurts game, man. Because Daniel Jones, when the Steelers lost, obviously to the Colts, Daniel Jones took over. I think he had over like 150 yards rushing. Something crazy like that. But now the Eagles will go shotgun with a stack and a nasty split out to the left. Takes the snap, hands off to Barkley, and he's going to get a decent gain of 5. Here we go. 2nd down and 5. Shotgun trips right for Philly. Looks like man coverage for Pittsburgh. Going to throw a quick slant caught. This is, I believe, Mekhi Lemon. His first catch of the day. He'll pick up a 1st down. Is that Mekhi Lemon? Number 5? Because he's number 6 in real life. Yeah, that's fair enough. Shotgun here. 2-by-2 formation, takes the snap. Hurts looking, pressure getting in on him. Now he has to throw it. It's caught by Barkley and taken down by Queen after a gain of 6. Eagles already down to the Steelers' 28. Shotgun here. 2 receiver set for Philly. Takes the snap, Hurts. He's got time in the pocket. Now he's looking to step up to run, and he's absolutely carving up the defense, and he gets down to the 14-yard line.
That is a problem.
I'm telling you, man, quarterbacks that can run in Madden are just absolute cheat codes.
Well, it used to be, Sperry, if you remember playing Madden like Madden 18, as soon as you hit them, they fumbled.
Yeah, true. Shotgun here. 2 receivers, both out to the right. Takes the snap. Play action, throws quickly on a slant. Caught by, looks like Devontae Smith. Skinny Batman's first catch of the day. Gain of 7. And now D. Salance says, which players could likely be of an NFL award All-Pro candidates? Watch out for Deshaun Elliott, Comeback Player of the Year campaign. Don't think they're going to give the Comeback Player of the Year to a safety, but I love Deshaun. This one's going to take more than just one play to answer here. He's going to hand it off to Barkley, and he's going to bounce off a couple Steelers, and he's in. Touchdown Eagles as they answer right back at home. As we might be in for kind of a high-scoring affair here, guys. In terms of the guys that could be All-Pro candidates, I want to be very intentional here with how I'm answering. I think Zach Frazier at center has a chance. Year 3 could take that next step. He's already really good. He's already in the top 5 conversation for me. If he has a really special year, that could be possible. Cam Hayward, if he continues to play at his level, absolutely possible. TJ Watt, if he has a bounce back year, I think it's possible he could. Joey Porter Jr.
Everyone forgets about that one.
I think Joey Porter Jr. has a chance as well. If he can really become one of the best corners in football this year, which he might. He's got.
Did you say any of the O-line?
What's that?
Any of the O-line?
Zach Frazier.
Yeah. Maybe
DK, but honestly, probably not. There's so many awesome receivers in this game. I just don't think DK is among the top 4 guys in the league.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
So I would say probably those guys. In terms of awards, I'd say maybe TJ for defensive player if he really comes back, but that's probably unlikely. By the way, we're back in Philly, and they're going to take it out to the 29. Decent return for Pittsburgh, and that's where the Steelers offense and Aaron Rodgers will take back over.
Maybe I see a world where Jeremy Bernard maybe gets an offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, Jeremy has a chance, even though I think there's probably more other rookies that'll have bigger roles.
Yeah, including one that the Steelers missed out on.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm not maybe if the Steelers play really well this year, 12, 13 wins, is it impossible McCarthy could get coach of the year?
No?
I don't think it's impossible, but what I care about is the wins and losses this year, man. Now we get a read option from Pistol with Aaron Rodgers, who somehow gets 6 yards. If that happens in real life, it's a loss of 3 automatically. But in Madden, Rodgers somehow gets 6.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Zoop08. He said, what about Boz? Yep, Boswell could be all-pro kicker. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Forgot about the special teams guys. Hand off to Jalen Warren. He'll pick up another 2. It'll be 3rd down and 2 coming up. Yeah, Boz. I would say, honestly, Boz might have the best chance out of anyone to be an all-pro this year. Jalen Ramsey might be another kind of dark horse to watch out for. I mean, would they put him at a corner? He's going to have to be really special. Now, here we go. Trips left. Rodgers will throw quickly. Good job to move the chains here to Jeremy Bernard, the rookie out of Alabama. First down, Steelers. Love the way the Steelers offense is operating so far in this game.
Takes us to the second quarter.
Takes us to the second quarter if we want to pill up another hashtag Steelers question. And, of course, Super Chat questions. Venmo, PayPal will take priority, but want to use the Madden streams here to get some more hashtag Steelers questions on the show, because I know not everybody has the funds to donate. First down and 10 for Pittsburgh as they switch sides of the field. They are currently on their own 41. Under center here. They've really liked this condensed bunch formation today. 5-step drop. Rodgers throwing. And now he's going to find Jeremy Bernard, and he drops it.
That's a rip.
Looked like not a pretty bad throw there by Rodgers. A little high with the tight coverage. It ends up being a drop. Second down and 10.
Trying to see.
Oh, here's a good suggestion. Ladome says, "What about Weegan as a kick returner?" I could see that too. Yeah, I could see that. Shotgun here, trips right. Rodgers now pressure on him immediately, and he gets sacked. Jalen Carter. Or actually, no, that was Jordan Davis that got to him first. It'll be third down and very long coming up here. 3rd and 16. Going to need Rodgers to dig us out of a hole here.
That was a good one.
Zoop says could also have Benny Skoranek. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
As a special teamer? Yeah, maybe.
Special teams all-pro guy. Maybe another Pro Bowl for Benny.
Yeah.
Could see that. Shotgun here. Trips right. Rodgers will take the snap on 3rd and 16. He's going to launch it down the field, taking his shot. One-on-one coverage, and it's almost caught. Jeremy Bernard had it in his hands, and he couldn't bring it in. That would have been an absolutely huge play in this game. Instead, the Steelers will have to punt.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
All right, $2 super chat here from Rats. We'll get to him here in just a second. Kick is away. And it will be fielded at around the 13, and good job by the Steelers to wrap that up at the 18, and that is where Hurts and the Eagles offense will retake over. $2.79 Canadian here from Rats is why didn't we re-sign Duggar for safety depth? Well, he stinks. I will say this, though, Rats.
Go, Kyle, go!
Yeah, Duggar's better than Darnell Savage. I'll say that. But I think Duggar wanted a chance to start, and I don't think the Steelers were providing that opportunity to start. I think Jaquan Brisker is an upgrade over him. And, hey, he's going to be starting for Cincy on defense this year, so you know their defense is going to suck again. Shotgun here, 3-receiver set, play action. Hurts looking, pressure starting to get in on him, but oh my goodness, Devontae Smith has nobody on him. And he gets all the way to the 41. Big gain for Philly. And I mean, this Philadelphia offense, I got to say, though, is absolutely built for Madden. You got a rushing quarterback, an X-Factor running back, 2 superstar wide receivers, because they have a superstar tight end, too. Superstar left tackle. Play action here. Hurts has all day, throws, and it's good coverage by Dean on Goddard, incomplete.
Dude, that was almost picked. He got in front of it.
Shotgun here for Hurts. Condensed formation, 2-by-2. He'll look to throw quickly, and it's incomplete. Overthrew his check down, Saquon Barkley. 3rd down and long. Got to get off the field here, folks. Got to get off the field. This Philly team is built for Madden, so you got to take your chances to get off the field when you can. And now this is a empty formation here with a condensed bunch to the left. Now Hurts looking pressure on him, throws it, dumps it to Mekhi Lemon. He's not going to get there. Good job by Peyton Wilson to rally. It'll be 4th down and 2. They can't just do push here. I think they're going to have to punt on their own 49. This will be an interesting call in real life. I think they might actually go for this if it's a real-life game, but I think Madden will punt. No, they're going for it. Here we go. Type those 4s. Shotgun for Hurts. A chance to take over at midfield. Hands it off to Barkley. Just gets it. Oh, my gosh.
He was contacted in the backfield. Couldn't drag him down.
Feel free to get to some more of these hashtag Steelers questions, Ponzi, when you get a chance. Shotgun here. Condensed formation, 2-by-2. Hurts looking again, pressure on him quickly, but it's going to be a screen to Saquon Barkley. Breaks a tackle because he has an X-Factor, and he'll pick up 3. Good defense, though, by Pittsburgh. That's about as good as you can cover that. It'll be 2nd down and 7. Josh says, which veteran could the Steelers realistically move on from to create more cap space, especially with Joey Porter Jr.'s extension coming up? They're not going to move on from any of their veterans this year, Joshua, but next year, Jamel Dean makes some sense. There's a lot of guys they could. Jalen Ramsey is a nice stop here by Deshaun Elliott, just a 1-yard gain. Brings up 3rd down and 6. There's a lot of different options, frankly, man. DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr. are 2 contracts you could theoretically move on from next year. Alex Highsmith will get traded. That'll clear up some cap space. So, They won't be clearing any more veteran cap space this year, but next year for sure. Now, here we go. Hurts is going to be pressured up the middle on third down. He's going to be sacked by Brandon Echols. Let's go, man. It's time to punt. Time to punt in Philly. Steelers send a blitz on third down in medium, and it pays off. They're going to have to punt here. And the kick's going to be away. And it's going to go out of bounds at the 16. Already 69 yards. That's over 13 yards per carry for Jaylen Warren on 5 rushes. Has a touchdown. He's been awesome.
Watch them not use him in the second half.
Second drive.
Second half.
Oh, you're saying you not use him at all in the second half. But they didn't really use him in that second drive. I think they only rushed it once. I like to see them get back to the run game here. You got 3 minutes to go here. Again, Philly's going to get the ball to start the second half. So this is a big drive. Under center, condensed bunch out to the right. It's going to be a quick slant to DK, and it's caught for a gain of 5.
Well, let me get where was it? Here we go.
JT Clover says, would you rather have career-wise Myles Garrett or TJ Watt? Career-wise, 10-plus sacks. I'm trying to figure out the question.
So, it's saying because Myles Garrett sacks the quarterback a lot, but TJ forces a lot of fumbles.
Handoff here to Warren. He's going to pick up a lot of yardage here, 14 yards. Just make sure when plays are going on, Ponzi, that it's not the small box.
That's the only one I can get with this one, though.
Well, I know, but just show the question, then pull it back full screen.
Okay.
While I'm thinking about the question or whatever. Just put it up there for me to read it and then take it off. Sort of deal. Shotgun here. Nasty bunch out to the right, and that's going to be taking us to the 2-minute warning. Listen, man, I think TJ Watt so far, Myles Garrett is just so insane, dude. He might be the best defensive player to ever live. But TJ Watt, super, super valuable. I'm going to tell you why here in a second. Rodgers throws middle on 2nd down and 10. It connects with no, he dropped it. Tried to go with DK Metcalf over the middle on a 1st down and 10. Downfield shot over the middle. Incomplete. 2nd down and 10 coming up. But the reason why TJ Watt has been so valuable and why he's been so valuable throughout his career is because of the forced fumbles and the turnover production, right? So I'm going to take the turnovers over the sacks any day of the week. Quick screen to Jaylen Warren and just keep getting Jaylen Warren the football, man. Another Steelers 1st down.
Man.
He is amazing. He has been the Steelers' Madden simulated season MVP to this point. And every game, I get people in the chat saying, where's Rico Dowdle? Jaylen Warren's balling out. Why do we need Rico Dowdle out there, man? Empty formation here, takes the snap. Rodgers has time, throws short, and it's going to be dropped.
Big drops.
Yeah, a couple drops here for Pittsburgh, and I think that's a classic Rodgers. That's how a lot of people view Rodgers, right? Gets to the back of his drop. If nothing's there, he's dumping it off. Under center here. They love this formation today, man. Five-step drop, quickly gets rid of it to the flat. It's Freiermuth. He'll pick up a solid 5-yard gain. Rodgers happy with that 5-yard gain there. Got to move the chains here, though, as they just got past their own territory into Philly territory, but they're still around midfield. Probably a bit too long for Boz. And now Rodgers will go into the shotgun. 2-by-2 formation. He takes the snap. Rodgers looking. He will throw towards the sideline. It is caught by Muth again. 1st down, Steelers. Muth. Let's go, man. Oh, gotcha. So JT Clover says, which career would you rather have at this point? Myles only has 10 more sacks than Watt, but Watt has 17 more turnovers. Definitely TJ Watt at this point. Shotgun here for Rodgers, looking, throwing off his back shoulder to the sideline. Warren can't catch it.
That was just a weird play.
Weird play there. Trusting a running back, I guess. They're gonna drop some passes, I guess. So incomplete. But yes, TJ Watt's career to this point, I think TJ Watt has been the better player. He's one of the best defensive players of all time in terms of overall value created. Shotgun here for Rodgers, looking. Clean pocket, throws short to Metcalf, and he's outrunning his man. He's going to pick up a first down and then some to the 23. First down, Steelers, they're moving the ball again as we approach about 60 seconds left in the half.
Let me get that question again. Ladome asks, could you see Tomlin coming back to coaching next season? He doesn't seem like a broadcaster personally.
Personality, he is definitely a broadcaster personality. He's one of the most charismatic people in the sport. Quick little throw, incomplete. A lot of dinking and dunking on early downs for Pittsburgh. But listen, man, I think Tomlin is addicted to coaching, so I think he absolutely could be back next year. Now, I do think he's going to wait for the right opportunity, like whether it's a team that has like a really high draft pick to take his quarterback or they already have an established star quarterback. It's got to be the right situation, right? But I do think Tomlin will eventually return to coaching, and I do think the Steelers' haul that they get for him will be quite sizable. Shotgun here for Rodgers, looking, stepping, looking to his right. Now he just has to throw it away, incomplete. Good coverage from Philly. It's Jalen Carter getting into it with Max Ahanicher. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Don't spit on him, Jalen.
Shotgun here for Rodgers, trying to move the chains once again. Pressure starting to cave in. Now throws middle, almost gets it intercepted. Tight window, incomplete. The Steelers will have to settle for a field goal with 38 seconds left to go in the half. By the way, both teams still have all of their timeouts.
Should be money from Boz. Don't want to curse it, though.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it almost got
no.
blocked, but it goes up, and it is good. I thought it was going to get blocked there for a second. It took a while for that snap to get going.
We got the animation for the block. Look at Andy Dalton out there.
Just feeding Jalen Hurts the ball. Attaboy, Andy Dalton.
Dude, I'm so terrified of seeing Andy Dalton, man.
I still think he's one of the better backups in the league. I mean, Dalton obviously is not like a franchise guy anymore, but like he's still a very solid backup. Kick is away from Boswell. It's going to be fielded at the 6. It's going to be, oh my goodness, Devontae Smith has all the room in the world to run. He gets all the way to the 35. Something happened there for Pittsburgh. But now Philly's got 28 seconds and 3 timeouts to try and tie this thing up. That's very reasonable. And guess what? Philly's going to have the ball coming out of the half. Let's take a hashtag Steelers question here as we approach the end of the first half. Hopefully the Steelers defense can hold strong for us here as they have a small lead. Kermit says, if you put Josh Allen or Mahomes at quarterback on this team, are we Super Bowl favorites? I don't think they're better than – I don't think they'd be considered favorites over the Rams with the way they're currently constructed, but they would be probably number 1 in the AFC. Here we go. Jalen Hurts is going to run. Oh, my goodness. Patrick Queen absolutely murdered him. 9.5 yards. He gets to 2nd and inches, timeout Philly. What a hit by Patrick Queen on Jalen Hurts.
Jesus.
Like, that's my answer, man. I think this team's pretty darn good. You put, like, a legitimate superstar quarterback on this team, they would be, in my opinion, the favorites to win the AFC. Even with a first-year head coach, man, like, I really believe in, especially Mahomes, that much with this caliber of roster. Empty formation here for Hurts. He's going to look to run again. Now he has to launch it, finds an open receiver somehow, and it's caught at the 42.
Dude, he just got leveled again.
Jalen Hurts is taking some crazy shots here at the end of the first half, but hey, he's moving the footballs. They're now in Steeler territory at the 42. If we have time for one more, we can take it. See if the Steelers defense can get a sack here. That'd be great. Shotgun here, trips left for Philly. They'll take the snap. Hurts looking. He's got a clean pocket. He could take off if he wants to as well, and he will. He'll pick up 6 and a timeout for Philly with 12 seconds to go. I don't know, man. I think they're probably going to do a play, kind of more sideline focused. They don't have any more timeouts. Might just throw it out of bounds as well and then take the field goal. They are in deep field goal range. It wouldn't be a gimme kick, but it certainly is makeable.
With Jake Elliott.
With Jake Elliott. This would be over 50 yards if they attempt it from here. Maybe just a quick out route here. Hurts takes the snap, looking, stepping up, now throwing towards the sideline, just throws it out of bounds. Yep. That's what I thought. 3rd down and 4. Still technically maybe enough time for one more play, but I don't know if they're gonna risk it here. I think they might just try and take the points.
Yep.
And they will try and take the points. This is a 53-yarder for Jake Elliott as he puts it up.
Bong.
And it hits it. It's the upright. No good. And now Aaron Rodgers has a chance at a Hail Mary before half. All right, there we go. Steelers defense holds just enough for a doinked kick from Mr. Jake Elliott. And now Pittsburgh has one more shot at it here. I mean, they're probably not going to score, but just chuck up of Hail Mary. Why not?
Although we did see some Hail Marys caught.
You got a Hail Mary. You got a that is true. We have seen some Hail Marys caught so far this year. Rodgers gearing up as he gets hit, almost fumbled it. That would have been a disaster, but it falls incomplete. And that is halftime here in Philly. 10-7 is the score. The Steelers are on top, playing with house money, sitting at 7-2 and at the top of the division. Take some questions here. Rats with a $2 Canadian.
Hold up.
Super chat again.
He does have another $2, but it's just
a different one?
Yeah. There we go.
He says, with our secondary upgrades, TJ resurgence imminent. Sure hope you're right, man. I tend to agree with you, Rats. I think I'm expecting somewhere in the range of like 14 to maybe 16 sacks for Watt this year. I think he's going to get a lot more one-on-one opportunities. I think Graham is going to do a much better job at finding creative ways to put him in advantageous scenarios to go get sacks. Whereas I think Tomlin and Austin kind of took TJ Watt for granted and didn't really get creative with the way that they used him. So even though I don't think he's the same player in terms of a sack artist that he used to be, I still think he's a very, very good player. Still be very, very valuable as we get a big return here from Philly. Another good return for the Eagles, getting all the way to the 45-yard line. What the fuck is going on special teams, man? Danny Crossman, get your guys in line. What are we doing?
Is it? Am I stupid? Or didn't Danny Crossman leave?
No, that's Danny Smith.
Danny Smith. I'm stupid. I'm sorry. I got my Danny's mixed up.
Danny Crossman is the new special teams coordinator, Ponzi.
Gotcha.
Everyone go F Ponzi in the chat for getting his Danny's mixed up. Shotgun here for Hurts. So he takes the snap, play action, looking pressure, getting to him, and there's TJ Watt, forces a fumble, and the Steelers take over. There he is, TJ Watt. Yeah, baby, let's go. TJ Watt forces the fumble as he typically does, and the Steelers will take over in Eagle territory with a 3-point lead. This is the opportunity, Ponzi, to get out to a nice lead, go up 10 points with a touchdown. You get the ball at the 34. This is a crucial drive. And before we get it going, Sam says, where do you think Rodgers will rank among the all-time Steelers quarterbacks? I mean, listen, man, there's two and then there's a big chasm, right? If he wins some in the playoffs here, there's a chance he could, be top 10. If he wins a Super Bowl, he'll obviously be top 5. Top 3 if he wins a Super Bowl. But,
I'm going to be contrarian to this point.
He will never surpass Big Ben or Terry, though.
There is a good argument. Steelers have one of the worst top 5s in NFL.
Yeah,
history.
I mean they've got two guys that want multiple, and then they have very little.
Who's the next best quarterback?
It's a good question. Now a quick slant from Rodgers, way overthrown on 2nd down and 4. Be 3rd down and 4 coming up.
Neil O'Donnell? That guy sucked.
Yeah, man, not great, man. Cordell Stewart?
No, he was more of a wide receiver than that.
I know, but Slash was pretty sick.
Slash was sick.
Shotgun here. Rodgers he's looking to scramble. Not going to happen. Throws, somehow completes it in tight coverage on the outside. I didn't even see who caught that.
Jaylen Warren
in contested coverage, the running back. I mean, Jaylen Warren is the team's MVP. Screw Kenny Gainwell, man. Jaylen Warren is this year's team's MVP in Madden. No question about it as he moves the chains. 1st down. Trips left. Takes the snap. Rodgers throwing really, really short on a drag. Oh, my goodness. Pat Freiermuth just trucks somebody, picks up 5. It'll be second down and 5. Next hashtag Steelers question.
Don't got a lot, guys.
Yeah, keep getting those questions in if you want something on the show. This is your chance to get a question on the show for free. Of course, we'll prioritize super chat questions, of course, but here we go. Shotgun, 2x2 formation. Rodgers will take the snap. Will throw end zone open. Metcalf, touchdown, Steelers! They capitalize on the TJ Watt strip sack, and the Steelers will go up 2 scores in Philly.
That is what we're talking about.
Let's go, man. Steelers on their way to 8-2 if they can hold this lead in the second half. And this would be a big statement victory going into Philly and beating them for the first time since the 60s. Give me a break, man. Kick is up, and it is good. 17-7 Steelers lead. That is what I'm talking about, baby. While we await the kickoff, if there's a question.
We do have a super chat from Bernard.
Oh, great.
He says,
once again, a Aaron Rodgers-related question from my guy Bernard. Says, A-Rod was a baller in Cal. For a college quarterback, he was for sure. He wasn't, but I want to make this clear, it wasn't a pro-ready quarterback coming out. He was holding the ball up over here, and the footwork, according to Mike McCarthy and Rodgers, have both said his footwork was not where it needed to be coming into the league. And after a couple of years to sit behind Favre, he really honed in on his mechanics, and that really helped transform him into the quarterback we all know in the National Football League. Kick is away and fielded. This time the Steelers special teams does a much better job bringing down Devontae Smith at the 22-yard line. All right, defense, come on. Keep balling out, man. You're going up against a super talented Eagles offense, and you are only giving up 7 points at this point. That's pretty darn good. Shotgun, spread, 2x2 formation. This is a Jalen Hurts formation if I've ever seen one. Takes the snap. Steelers send a safety blitz. Now he has to throw quickly. He does. It's caught by Saquon Barkley, and he picks up a good amount of yardage there. Gets to the 35.
Oh, this is a good one.
Says, which AFC teams do you think we could theoretically beat in the playoffs? Oh, it's a good question. I think, at their peak, they could beat anybody in the AFC. If they hit the green lights that they could this year, they could beat anybody in the AFC. Here we go. It's going to be a quick run here for Hurts. Nothing there. He's going to pick up a decent gain, get to the 46 on the scramble. First down, Eagles. Because, are there teams that I think are higher in the power rankings right now than Pittsburgh? Absolutely. But, if the Steelers, if their defense makes the step that I think they're capable of, if the offense takes the step that I think they're capable of, they could beat anybody in the NFL. They really could. It's going to be a quick throw here. It's going to be a gain of 5. Dinking and dunking their way down the field here at Philly. See if this Steelers defense can hold here in Philly. Pressure's on for sure. Second down and 5. Now they'll go condensed formation under center for Hurts. This is a Saquon Barkley formation if I've ever seen one. And that's exactly where they go. He gets a big hole, and there he goes. Now he's going to make a move, and he's all the way to the end zone. And just when we had a 10-point lead, it just gets erased. Well, it's not erased. You still have a 3-point lead, but Saquon Barkley did Saquon Barkley things right there, and Philly is right back in this thing. Type boo in the chat. Type those boos in the chat. Saquon Barkley. Sometimes that's going to happen when it's Saquon, but...
Jalen Ramsey did just get juked out of his shoes.
Yes, he did.
Matt, I'm a little confused on this question. Because Mount Rushmore's top 4.
Yeah, man. I think right now, Mount Rushmore is a top 4. So I'll just do my Mount Rushmore. All right. Franco Harris, and he's got to be doing the Immaculate Reception on there. The bus has to be on there. Have to go Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, you have to.
Have to go Le'Veon Bell.
The fourth one is kind of the one where I was thinking about it.
I have to go with Willie Parker.
Yeah.
Have to go with Willie Parker with the other one. I think there's an argument to be made for Barry Foster, but Willie Parker is probably my fourth option. If it's a top 5, Barry Foster's my 5. But hopefully Jaylen Warren, man, he's had some awesome years. Like if he plays a long time here in Pittsburgh, he's got a chance to crack that top 5 eventually. But we'll see.
I mean, he would probably have to give that 4 spot though, for sure. I don't think it's hard to surpass that top 3.
All right, Steelers have the football, up 3. Pressure's on here after Philly just drove right down the Steelers' defense's throats. Offset I formation here. 2 receivers and then 2 running backs. Play action, throws middle, open. Oh, the beautiful throw from Rodgers to Metcalf. Just absolutely laced it in there over the middle of the field. Gets all the way down to the Eagles' 45. What a start to this drive. Steelers' offense has been pretty much humming throughout the game here, Ponzi.
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't look like the limited offense that everyone thinks the Steelers are going to have with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. I know it's just Madden, but handoff here to Warren. He's got some nice blocking up front. He's going to power his way through for another gain of around 12. First down, Steelers.
Get some more hashtag Steelers in, guys. Hashtag Steelers in full.
Hashtag Steelers, no spaces, and then get your question in there. Can get your question on the show for free today. Because usually our mailbags on Thursdays or Fridays are usually mostly super chats, so this is your chance.
Oh my goodness, what are we doing?
And now we're doing a QB draw with Rodgers that gets 1 yard. What are we doing? And then he fist bumps Jordan Davis. What the hell is that?
Brother thinks he's Dak Prescott. Hey, if Rodgers goes down because of all these QB runs, Will Howard's perfect for this offense.
I guess.
You comped him to Dak Prescott.
I guess. Well, that's the high-end comp.
That's a still comp.
Yeah, but what are the chances that Will Howard in year 1 of his NFL career is Dak Prescott?
Well, Dak Prescott
close to 0.
Dak Prescott was Dak Prescott in year 1 of his NFL career.
But Dak Prescott wasn't. No, he was not.
No,
he wasn't.
That was the joke, Sweary.
Dak Prescott was very much not the quarterback.
Dak
that he
Prescott
is right now,
was read option
Yes.
merchant.
Yes. Here we go. 3rd down and 9 after a couple bad throws from Rodgers. Now pressure, throws, and it's dirted, incomplete. The Eagles pass rush gets home. Oh, man. I don't like this feeling, Ponzi. You're at the 32.
What do you got?
So I think you kick the field goal here, and you hope Boz can make it, and you hope your defense can stave off another touchdown. Kick is up from Boz, and it's good, of course, because it's the Wizard of fucking Boz, man. Best kicker in the world, puts it in. 2014 Steelers lead. Less than 2 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Eventually, Steelers defense, man, going to have to step up.
Yeah, I feel like they really haven't done that good.
Offense needs to keep it up. I mean, you got the big sack fumble. That was really the big thing defensively that you're able to get in this game. But the offense is going to have to keep it up. Defense is going to have to play better than they did on that last drive. It's kicked away and fielded at the 5, working its way through. It gets to the 26. Decent coverage there from Pittsburgh. And there's Saquon Barkley, 2 touchdowns on the day and 66 yards and just 5 rushes. But D. Salon says with the Highsmith and Tomlin picks, could you see a big impact trade either for a player or to move up very high in the draft? Yes, this is a great point here by Salance because, like, if you have an additional first for Tomlin, for example, and then you have an additional 2nd or 3rd with the Highsmith deal, like, you're going to have ammo to move up for one of these top quarterbacks if you really like one of them. So that's definitely a possibility. Under center here, fakes the jet sweep, hands it off to Barkley, who will get 3 yards. Good tackling there from Pittsburgh. But yeah, whether it's, we'll see if Arch Manning comes out this year. Dante Moore has to come out this year. Drew Mestamaker, we'll see if he comes out this year from Oklahoma State. Lenora Sellers has to come out this year. There's a bunch of other guys that I think have a chance. Sam Levitt, Darian Mensah. There's a number of guys, man. Under center again, handoff to Barkley. They're just going to feed Barkley here, and he's going to pick up a first down after bouncing off a Steelers defender. Jay Robinson, you can find me on Prize Picks at C. Sperry. So that's C Sperry, Sperry, at C Sperry. Shotgun here, handoff. Oh, great job by Cam Hayward there, getting into the backfield, bringing down Saquon Barkley for a TFL. That's the all-pro I know. That's the team captain that we've been waiting for, baby. 2nd down and 11 as the clock is ticking. They might take this all the way to the 4th quarter. I don't like the Steelers high five and up 6. I don't like that. What are we doing? Are we getting comfortable here in Philly? Only up 6 when they have the ball. Here we go. They're going to snap it here. Quick drag route caught for a short gain, just a gain of 2. 3rd down and long coming up. This is a chance for Pittsburgh to get off the field here, folks.
After this commercial break with the 4th quarter. No, but clapping up 6 is just a terrible look. It really is.
All right, 3rd down and 9. This is the play right here. Steelers in 2 high safeties. This is the Jalen Hurts formation. Shotgun 2x2 spread. Takes the snap. He's looking. Pressure starting to get to him. He throws over the middle. It's caught. 1st down. Is that Hollywood Brown right there?
Yeah, it is not A.J. Brown, guys. I didn't goof again.
Hollywood Brown makes the catch. Just gets past the line to gain, and the Steelers can't get off the field on 3rd and 9. That one's brutal right there, man. Now the Eagles have the ball at around midfield. Shotgun, 3 receiver set. Going to throw a quick screen out to Devontae Smith, and he will pick up an easy 9 yards on the bubble.
You know who I did see where this game was recorded? Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I think I said that right.
Yeah, Shoyinka.
He retired.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to make too much of an impact. I think that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Shotgun here, 2 receiver set, 2 tight ends for Philly. They're going to go play action. Hurts now looking to run. Now throws down the field off his platform, and it's caught for a touchdown. And, of course, it's Mekhi fucking Lemon.
Couldn't script it.
Jalen Hurts flat-footed through that thing 40 yards, and Mekhi Lemon mossed as Steelers defender for a touchdown, and Philly is an extra point away from taking the lead in the 4th. Are you kidding me? Mekhi Lemon continues to embarrass the Pittsburgh Steelers months after the debacle, night 1 of the NFL draft. It's up and it's good from Elliott, and the Eagles take the 1-point lead. Josh says, do you think the Steelers have done enough at inside linebacker, or is that still the one position Omar Khan should address before training camp? Listen, man, I've been saying it all offseason. I think both Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson were disserviced by being in that previous scheme, which asked way too much of them in match coverage, as run defenders. Like, they didn't have clear rules in terms of run fits in Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin's system. It was very much like the linebacking role is very much like a cleanup kind of role. That's going to change with Patrick Graham. So I just think this is a much more linebacker-friendly system. I also love the blitzing ability of Queen and Wilson. I think we'll see those guys blitz quite a bit. And we've seen Patrick Queen play at an all-pro level in a similar system to this, okay? We've seen Peyton Wilson, his talent as a pass coverage player and as a blitzer, they're going to lean into that. So I would not be surprised if both these guys have really good seasons this year. But, on paper, based on the way they've played the last 2 years, it's probably the weakest position group on the team. So there's reason for optimism, but also some reason for some doubt and pessimism. 7-step drop, a quick little dump off to Jalen Warren for a gain of 3 is how this drive will start for Pittsburgh.
What did we see last week? Like a 10-step drop?
No, it was 7.
It was 7?
Yeah, there's no such thing as a 10-step drop.
It was something like that. It was crazy.
Shotgun here, actually empty. Got a stack out to the right and a nasty split and a bunch of a nasty split out to the left. Now they're going to go QB draw, and he's got a blocker from there. Goes Rodgers all the way down to the 48-yard line. TJ Watt signaling first down on the sideline. What a play. Rodgers saying, what the hell? I'm too fast for you, bro.
Oh, my God.
What a play. Out of all the crazy things we've seen in this Madden simulated season, that is on the list right there.
Yeah, we've seen a Hail Mary get caught a couple times, though.
Under center here. Condensed bunch to the left. Going to hand it off to Warren, and the Eagles are ready for it. It's a loss of 1, TFL, for Brandon Graham.
First down puts you at the edge of Chris Boswell field goal range here to take the lead.
Clock is ticking. All you need is a field goal to take the lead. I'm fine with the Steelers taking as much clock as possible here. 3-receiver set, shotgun. Rodgers takes the snap, has time, throws slant, caught, but for a short gain of only 4. And it'll be 3rd down and long, and Rodgers indicating he's having trouble hearing Mike McCarthy in his headset.
We saw that last season.
In a crucial moment.
In the Detroit game.
All right, it's crunch time, folks. Let's see if the Steelers can improve to 8-2. Shotgun here. 3-receiver set, takes the snap. Rodgers looking, throws, open receiver. Pittman, first catch of the day, and he picks up a huge Steelers first down. Let's go, man. Michael Pittman Jr. Period. Let's go, man. By the way, you guys can pick up our Pittman jerseys on our website right now at chatsports.com/Pittman.
Or just go to ST Merch for the whole collection.
Right. That is right. Pistol formation here for Rodgers. I think they're going to hand it off here, and they do. Warren, and he's going to be hooked down by Cooper DeJean after a gain of 6. Decent gain.
9 rushes for 100
Warren's looking
yards.
for the face mask. What's that?
9 rushes for 100 yards.
I'll take it. That's efficiency right there, Ponzi. And that's Madden for you. Yeah. 2nd down and 4. I formation. Are they going to hand it off to Rico Dowdle here? He's in the backfield. They do hand it to Rico. Fights forward for a decent gain. It'll be 3rd down and 1 coming up.
This is QB sneak if I've ever heard it. And with Rodgers' quickness, apparently.
Yeah, Steelers setting themselves up here for a game-winning field goal, but obviously you'd like a touchdown here. Put the pressure on Philly to have to score a touchdown here.
Here's the QB sneak.
QB sneak, Rodgers picks it up. First down, Steelers, and that is a huge first down. I think Philly's going to have to start using timeouts here soon. We'll see if they use those timeouts before or after the 2-minute warning. Steelers can just bring this down to the 2-minute warning right now. I think that's what they're going to do.
If they snap it here, it's Madden AI. There's no reason to snap it. Oh, my God.
And they snapped it before the 2-minute warning, and it's a loss of 2. What are they doing? I was looking at my phone because I thought, it's 2-minute warning time. Nope. Now 2nd down and 12. Handoff to Warren. No blocking. No gain. 3rd down and very long. No timeout from Philly. Did you turn up the IQ?
Yes, I did.
Well, I guess Philly wants those timeouts for when they get the ball back.
Then again, the way they've been driving it on the Steelers defense has not been inspiring.
Now Rodgers looking. Can he pick up the first down? Now he's looking to run. Now he throws it. And take this. I guess you can't take the sack there, but clock stops. Philly's going to have all of their timeouts, and all they'll need is a field goal. And that's just assuming Chris Boswell makes the field goal here. It's going to be a long field goal here. Well, relatively long. I mean, not very long for Boz, I would say, but the kick is up, and it is good. Chris Boswell has been the MVP today.
Almost ran into him, too.
And now Philly will have a minute and a half. They'll have 90 seconds. This is very similar, actually, to the Ravens game last year, where they had a certain amount of time. They had less than 90 seconds, but they had timeouts. And all they needed was a field goal. All right, time for the Steelers defense to prove to the NFL what kind of team they have here. Kick is away. Got to be good on special teams here. It's going to be fielded at the 3, taken down at around the 25. Decent coverage there. Good coverage. All right, I need everyone to spam those stops in the chat. I need everyone to spam stop in the chat if you want to get a win here. Steelers haven't won in Philly since the 60s. They got a chance to do so right here. Let's go. Shotgun for Hurts. He's got a nasty stack out to the right with a single wide receiver out to the left. Shotgun. Gonna go quick screen. Oh, it was almost intercepted by Watt. He had it in his hands. Oh my gosh, it fell incomplete, but TJ Watt almost forced his 2nd turnover of the game. That is TJ Watt's superpower, is causing those turnovers.
Don't let that matter, please.
3 receiver set spread. Shotgun here for Hurts. Play action, read option, makes one man miss, and then Jamel Dean brings him down. Good tackle from Dean. Gain of 1. Still no timeouts being taken from Philly. I don't know. I think Ponzi might have forgot to turn up the intelligence.
I did not.
3rd down and 9.
Just Madden sometimes a bad game, okay?
Because Nick Sirianni does suck. I'm just kidding.
That's true.
Trips left here, shotgun. Hurts got to move the chains here. Now he throws. It's going to be caught. Great coverage by the Steelers, but it's just going to be caught past the sticks. Timeout, Philly with 54 seconds to go. I mean, it was always going to be 4-down territory there, Ponzi, but
would have liked to get the stop.
Would have been nice for it to be 4th and 9 and get the pass breakup. But good catch. I think that was Hollywood Brown with another tough catch for them. 1st down, Philly at their own 39, trying to get in the field goal range. Shotgun for Hurts. Condensed formation here. Takes the snap. Looking. Throwing quickly to the flat. Good coverage. Mekhi Lemon catches it.
Ball's out.
Fumble. And
they recover.
I think it went out of bounds.
That is.
Oh my gosh. That's the 2nd turnover opportunity the Steelers couldn't capitalize on. Mekhi Lemon, the rookie out of USC, who the Steelers. Booth review here. I don't know what they could be reviewing. Are they reviewing if the Steelers picked it up before it went out of bounds?
We could see. I don't really know.
I just don't know how they could reverse this.
If anything, this is kind of okay.
Now, black screen. Are they going to show us the replay?
So they ruled, I guess, that the ball went out of bounds and the clock should have run. So that's why the Eagles took the timeout.
So they called timeout, but they gained an additional 2 yards. It was going to be 2nd down and 5. Now it's 2nd down and 3.
But they had to take a timeout.
49 seconds left. They have to get in the field goal range. They've already missed a kick of 53 yards with Jake Elliott. Condensed formation. Hurts looking. Throws to the flat. Incomplete. It's dropped. Good coverage from Brandon fucking Eccles. Let's go. 3rd down and 3. Rodgers rallying the troops, saying, hey, we got to go score if they get a field goal here. Hail Mary time, you got to believe. Or just get that ball to the 40-yard line or 45 of the Eagles and let Boz kick it from the logo. Pistol formation on 3rd and 3. Biggest play of the game thus far. They send Barkley in motion. Takes the snap. Hurts looking. Throwing. Caught. To Goddard down in the field goal range at the 37. It'll be a long field goal from here. Eagles not using their timeout.
Neither are the Steelers for whatever reason.
Neither are the Steelers. I think the Steelers are hoping for a missed field goal here. This is a long field goal here, by the way, guys, at the 37. Let's see if they can get one more chunk before the field goal attempt. Takes the snap. Hurts looking. Tries dumping it up, but it's overthrown. Jalen Hurts couldn't hit his check down. He overthrew it. 2nd down and 10, 16 seconds and a timeout. So still plenty of time for them. They still have the timeout, so they still have the middle of the field open to them. But right now, they're in I formation, threatening to run. Steelers are in 2 high safeties. Hand off to Barkley. Nothing doing. Timeout. Eagles. Huge defensive stop there from Pittsburgh to stop maybe the best running back in the game.
Do you just take the field goal now?
No, if I'm the Eagles, I'm at least trying to get something on the sideline. I'm honestly trying to do like a bootleg kind of thing with Hurts. Get him on the move, threaten. Yeah, I would try and do a bootleg from shotgun.
Nope.
But no, they're just going to kick it here. This is going to be a 52-yarder, and Mike McCarthy's going to call timeout, ice the kicker. Here we go. Everyone type miss in the chat. If he makes it, the Eagles win and the Steelers go down to 7-3. If he misses, the Steelers win and improve to 8-2. The kick is up, and it is good. Jake Elliott missed from 53 earlier. He makes it this time. And the Steelers are 10 seconds away from losing. They still got 2 timeouts, so they still got, theoretically, a chance to throw one downfield shot try to have like 1 second left on the clock, call timeout, and kick a field goal and win it. Boswell has one of the best legs in the game. He's one of the most accurate kickers in the game. I can't say this is over. And certainly after that Patriots game in week 2, this thing certainly isn't over. It's going to be kicked out of the back of the end zone. Steelers get the ball at the 35 here, Ponzi. I got to say.
What, 20 yards?
You got 9 seconds here to throw a downfield shot to somebody, get it within Chris Boswell field goal range, and call timeout. That is not impossible. And this is why you pay a guy like Chris Boswell the highest number for any kicker in the National Football League. Some reason they're going pistol here. Trips right. Takes the snap. Rodgers, not even a drop, throws it short and incomplete.
All right, well.
What are we doing?
It's Hail Mary time now.
I mean, maybe you can get it there in 6 seconds and then call timeout with 1 second left, but they might have to just chuck up a field goal here, man.
Hail Mary.
Dave says Madden is always wrong. Well, I'll say this, man. They've projected, we've done these Madden Sims last 2 years. They've gotten the record prediction exactly right the last 2 years. Takes the snap, Rodgers looking, throw it! Throw it! Now he's just going to bomb it. They're just going to go Hail Mary here. Flag on the play! Flag on the play! For the second time, the Steelers look out on a pass interference call on the last play of the game, and now they set up a chip shot field goal. Oh my gosh, it happened again. And the kick is up and it's good, and the Steelers steal a win in Philly for the first time in 1965. Oh my God. I can't believe that happened again, Ponzi. The second time this season, the Rodgers throws up a Hail Mary prayer. The refs call a defensive pass interference, and the Steelers win the game because of it. Hey, man, I'm not going to get in the way of Madden, even if this is just ridiculous. A win's a win, and the Steelers win. They improved to 8-2 on the year. They steal a game in Philly. They're only 2 games away from double-digit wins. I think if the Steelers are sitting at 8-2 at this point in the season, we're talking about them as legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. I love it. $2 and Bernard Nixon says, would Stafford do better last year than A-Rod? I think he would. Now, would the result of the season be drastically different with Stafford? I actually think the answer to the question is no. All right, because I think Stafford really benefits from the system that he's in. Don't get me wrong. Stafford is an awesome quarterback. Deserved the MVP trophy last year, all that stuff. Great arm talent. Can make throws very few people on the planet can make. But kind of like Rodgers, he's not really much of an out-of-structure playmaker. Only had 1 rushing yard last year. That's less than Rodgers, right? So he's non-mobile. He's very much an in-structure playmaker. And like Rodgers, he him to be a high-end producer, okay? It's not like he's going to be running around Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and being like this crazy playmaker, making plays all over the place, right? He needs that strong supporting cast in structure to have the kind of season that he had. And last year here in Pittsburgh, he wouldn't have had that, right? He would have had Jonnu fucking Smith out there as one of his top receiving options most of the time. DK Metcalf getting double-teamed. I think Stafford would have probably played better than Rodgers last year. I think he's a better quarterback at this stage in his career. But would it have been that drastically different? I still think the Steelers win around 10 games last year, and I still think they probably get booted in the first round of the playoffs. That's how I feel, man. Like, you give this style of quarterback, a non-mobile pocket passer, a bad supporting cast in terms of the weaponry, in terms of the offensive play calling, it's going to be limited, man. It is. Now, I do think Stafford would have been better than Aaron, all right? Rodgers had certain stretches of last season where he was just straight up bad. I think Stafford would have been more consistent than that. But, I still think the Steelers win around 10 games. Maybe they win 1 more game with Matthew Stafford. Did you guys watch Matthew Stafford with those Lions teams? He was just as talented during the prime of his career with Detroit than he is right now. It's just his production's better in LA because he's got Sean fucking McVay Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. And then if you put the other shoe on the foot there, Ponzi, you put Rodgers on the Rams last year, I honestly think their season doesn't go a whole lot differently either. Maybe they lose one more game.
Yeah.
They're still a really good football team. Like, you put Rodgers in that offensive infrastructure with those receivers, that run game, the defense that they had last year, they're a 12-win football team last year, I think.
Yeah.
And Stafford and the Steelers are probably a 10 or 11-win team, in my opinion. I would rather have Stafford. I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying that Rodgers is better than the league MVP. That's of course not what I'm saying. I'm saying they're similar styles of quarterback at this stage in their career, and the Steelers didn't have the infrastructure last year to support that kind of quarterback. And that includes Matthew Stafford if we would have had him on the team last year. So that's my take on it. $2 from Bernard says A-Rod has 4 career Hail Marys, the most. Well, if you include the successful DPIs this season, like, goodness gracious. It's crazy, man, what's happening in the final 10 seconds of these ball games. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, I had a hell of a time on today's live show, man. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for getting those questions in. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chats. And we're going to have another slate of awesome Steelers content for you guys. I think the plan right now is to go live on Friday, guys. All right, so we're going to have the next live show kind of bookending the week, Monday and Friday. And then we're actually not going to have any live shows 4th of July week. I'm on vacation, actually. So that'll be nice, but I'll miss you guys during 4th of July week for sure. But we still got one more Steelers Talk live show to go before we get to America's 250th birthday. So greatly appreciate your guys' support. I'll see you guys on Friday for the next edition of Steelers Talk Live. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.